Hi, welcome everybody. I am Choice Minis, Steve Thomas. You can find me on social media, which is probably how you found me, to be honest with you, tonight. Yeah, so, cool story. I'm normally here with my partner in crime, Beach Vacation Mando. Adam is unfortunately gonna be a little late. He is out doing the Lord's work. He's out there planting trees and plants, I assume. Listen, he could be digging a hole in the middle of nowhere for all I know. Dude is busy making things happen. Tonight, we are making different things happen. So, I teased this a little bit on Instagram. For those of you who follow me on there, I am at Choice Minis on Instagram. We are working on, we're going to get a lot of work done tonight, actually, on our Judiciar. So I haven't done a lot of work on this guy on stream. We've been pretty much working on the Fallen. But in the background, and if you want to head over to my Instagram at Choice Minis, you can see some of the background stuff that I've been doing the last couple of days, just getting this boy ready. So tonight we're going to be working specifically on the cloak. We might get a little bit of work in on the parchment too, just because we're using a similar color palette. Let's talk about how that work's going to go down and what we're working on tonight. So this is all a part of a Project Never Fallen. So Project Never Fallen is, I wanted to reimagine all 20 Space Marine legions as if the Horus Heresy never existed, as if nobody had ever fallen to the excuse me, to the ruinous powers. So this project, and we're getting close to the wrap on Volume 1. I feel like we might have another couple weeks, and then we will be moving on to Volume 2. But as we wrap Volume 1 here, we are working through the Dark Angels, and I wanted to make like infantry paragons of the chapter. So in each case, we're going with some sort of iconic infantry that, I guess I can show you the back too. Iconic infantrymen from each one of the chapters, and really show off what I think each one of them would look like. So you can see here, we're working just on our Judiciar. So let's get down to brass tacks. This guy, speaking of brass tacks, this guy is just literally tacked together right now. I've just got some poster tack that's keeping him together so that I could work on some posing stuff and confirm where I was putting lights and shadows before. We're going to get to the last sort of series of lights and shadow and all that, sort of updating those areas right at the very end here. You can see my nice little, I'm really digging where this is going. We're not done the helmet yet, but you guys can definitely see where it's going. Yeah, so how are you guys doing tonight? I'd love to continue to share this with you, but let's talk about some coloring first. So we have here the colors of our cloak. So we've got our cloak already on our big dude. So we've got all that great coat. Probably a great coat. We're going to go with great coat. It is all done right now because I wanted to get some freehand done on certain parts of it. We've already got our coat of, sorry, scale color Thar Brown. This is our midtone. We're going to be adding in some shadows and some highlights. So we're using, there's two highlight colors that we're going to be using. We're going to be using White Sands Mojave White. White Sand is going to give us sort of our broad highlights. We'll be using Mojave White to really bring out some of the texture, I guess, of our model. I also brought out, so this is khaki brown, no, sorry, this is walnut. Not my favorite color in all of the scale color range, just, I don't know if it's just my bottle, but it doesn't cover particularly well. But I'm not using that as our only shadow. I'm also using that to do some staining and stuff like that on the model. Not digging this particular backing track. It's sounding very Pokemon to me. I do love Pokemon, but it felt like we were in a battle there for a minute. We are using our universal shadow color, which is a combination of anthracite gray and petroleum gray. So we're using those together to create, we've actually used it all over the model so far. So all of this guy, on our scenic base, on the Fallen, everybody's got the same shadow color, and everybody actually has the same extreme highlight color in White Sands. And this is just to tie the model into a scene. But yeah, let's get in on this. To do, now I'm going to go back and forth between having him in my hand and having him. This is just a piece of extruded foam that I stab things into when there are pins. let's open up the old palette. Let's start talking about how we're going to do colors. So I already talked about our universal, our universal shadow color. And I cannot stress this enough. Put a ball bearing, grab stainless steel ball bearings. I think I grabbed a package of 250 of them. Not very D&D friendly, but definitely great for what we need. Throw a ball bearing into the scale color stuff. Just it keeps the pigment suspended way better. Because I've had some issues with some of these where pigment definitely settled out, or actually in a couple of colors case, it is solidified, and I am working desperately to get it all built back up. So that's the thing that I'm dealing with. That's a lot of fun. I want to grab just starting to do some of the highlights, even on our Fallen. We talked about him a little bit last week. We can get him on camera. Even just doing some of the highlighting on his Legion symbol here. I was using blood red, and the blood red has a lot of it has a lot of pigment bits in it that are very, very large, and I'm trying to get those to break back up again, and it is not fun. It is not going well. So you can see here on the palette cam, I've just got a 50-50 mix basically of anthracite gray and petroleum gray, and we're gonna see how that looks. So I'm mostly using the petroleum gray. It's got a little bit of purple in it. It's a neat color because I think it is actually a I want to guess here. I'm guessing that it is probably a combination of purple and green to make. Just gonna add a little bit extra in there. Purple and green to make sort of a desaturated dark gray color. It's not black in itself, and you can. I am partially colorblind, so I can't super evaluate this, but I know that it is not blue. I am aware of that. I have been corrected on that. It is not blue, but so I'm gonna guess that it's probably purple and green mixed to make that color. It is as close as I've got in scale color to a good Payne's Gray, and Payne's Gray is actually the tone that I used on our scenery. We can do a little bit too. So this is our scenic base. You can definitely see where I've used the Payne's Gray in order to create nice, a nice contrast. So if we look at the base from this angle, you can see that we've got a very high white sands highlight. Yo, what up, Sean? And then you can see that from this angle, if I hold it up to the camera right, you can see that it is very cold blue. So that's where we're at on the base. Oh, So I've got the universal shadow color mix now on the palette. I'm actually doing really well tonight, man. I am flying solo. Adam is out somewhere doing things. I assume that it has stuff to do with his job. He is going to be on later on with us, but yeah, he's out putting plants in ground probably. Maybe he's taking different plants out of the ground. I couldn't tell you for sure. But one of those is happening. He is busy, so I'm not going to bother him too much. So this is, sorry, the color I just put on the palette, this is what I'm seeing, and it's a little hard to see on the palette cam. Why don't I bring it up to regular camera? So you guys can see. Yeah, I bet he is probably distracted by the rocks. So you guys can see, this is something that I'm dealing with scale color. Shaking the ever-loving hell out of it and adding water seems to help, but... Oh, thanks, Jamie. Apparently Adam is still at work. Well, I appreciate you giving him a ride home. Yeah, this is sort of the issue that I'm seeing with a lot of my scale color paint, and I don't know if this is just my scale color. I'm pretty sure that this is just this set of scale color paint isn't doing a particularly good job of, being a paint color, but we'll deal with it. So I should show you sort of where we're situating this guy too. So this is our scenic base. Our dude is actually going to be wandering around the corner, something like that. So I don't know how well that's showing up, not bad on camera. So he's going to be walking around that corner, and we have a light source that is coming from this direction, right? So we are going to be painting the cloak very deep in shadow on one side, and then we're going to be doing a pretty high highlight, and we'll come around and pick up some of the edges and stuff so that it's still got features. All the way around. How's your week going, Sean? I know it's only Tuesday, but it's never too early to complain. And Jamie, how's your week going? How's Rocket doing? So here we go. We're gonna just get started. You can see how thin this is. It is not meant to be. We are not putting heavy coats of paint down yet. Right now, I am just looking for everywhere that is shadowed. Just starting up that color. Mostly with a filter here on the areas that I know are going to be deeper in shadow. And you can also see that I am dragging the paint towards the bottom or into places that I know are going to have really, really deep shadows to them. So whether that's up to the top or so up underneath of some of the crap that's on this dude's belt. Also going to get that little area up there. I might have to repaint that book after we're all done tonight. Oh, nice. Monday, Tuesday off is never a bad option. I unfortunately am one of those, or fortunately, I don't know. It kind of depends on your opinion of it. I'm one of them Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 guys. So that's same weekend over and over. I do not know. I'm pretty sure it's the middle of the month. It's May the 11th. Haha! Discovered it. Aww. So for those of you who don't remember or who are on, I don't even know who's here with us. I'm assuming most of the people that are here with us have heard of Rocket before. Rocket is Beach Vacation Mando Adam's tiny little boy, and by tiny little boy I mean big gigantic goofball. He likes to sing when he's been left alone. People need to know that he is sad. And the fact that he didn't spend all day singing the blues is great. That's awesome to hear, Jamie. My tiny boy is getting better and better. Apollo is getting better and better at being around dogs, which is nice. Like almost to the point where I feel like him and Rocket should get to know each other. We're still working on it. He's still not great, but it's super cool to hear that, you know, he is taking care of business, that he's managing to stay at home without being the saddest of boys. Apollo, so I work 8:30 to 4:30, and he has learned his routine very well. So he knows that at exactly 4:30 when I wake up, it's time to start getting sad because you're not already eating dinner. When, I don't know that you know this, but we could be eating delicious kibble, but instead we're just not eating kibble like dum-dums. So we should probably eat kibble. That's pretty much 99% of his personality when we wake up from sleeping all afternoon, coming home from our walk. So yeah, I'm just gonna continue to work. Aw. Yeah, actually, Artemis needs somebody bigger than her because she is still very much in charge around these places, and she hasn't had a whole lot of time to be, I don't know, harassed by Rocket. She needs puppy friends. She needs to visit her puppy friends, and unfortunately, we have gone into an even deeper lockdown here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. So you guys can see that I am layering this more and more. I am trying to layer into places that I know are going to have very deep shadows. So places like underneath of the armpit here, like this is all going to be very in shading. We're going to see less shadow in certain areas, and then we're going to start to work our way around to the other side. So yes, it is very transparent now. Many transparent layers, as long as they dry fully in between, make for a much smoother finish, and just a less visible finish. Now, there are ways to accomplish the same thing, maybe faster, but I'm not that painter. I'm here for a good time, and apparently a long time. So you working on anything fun this week, Sean, or are you just hanging out? I managed to get almost 8 full hours of painting in on Saturday. It was glorious. I haven't had that much hobby time in a while, so even with the streams, I don't typically get hours. Puppies and work and, you know, life, other interests. I gotta get, I finally found some sort of resolution with Apple, whether or not their solution actually works. They did give me a new computer, so that is thankfully taken care of. It's been a little disappointing dealing with them in general, but now that we have the new Mac Mini, I actually get to rebuild. I've got a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that Adam and Jamie play. Yeah, I got to rebuild a couple of assets and rebuild the server that I was hosting on the Mac Mini before it sort of ate shit. That seems like the appropriate thing to say. But yeah, so I got a little bit of work that I got to get done this weekend, and normally I spend Saturdays working on D&D content, so it's one of those things that normally on my Saturdays I am trying to decide how to torture my players. So this week having just 8 hours to paint because I didn't really want to touch Mac stuff. It's kind of nice. It was a nice little break. Are you gonna post photos of those orcs on Naked Apes? Because I've seen the photos and they look great. And I think that anyone else in our community wants to go and follow along with what Sean's doing. He's Naked Apes on Instagram. He's got some cool orc conversions that he's got working on. And if you guys have anybody else who might happen to be on the stream or watching later on, have things that you want to share with the community, I'd love to see what you're working on. Like, I spend my time on Instagram mostly looking at other people's models to find inspiration, because I find, you know, there's two ways that browsing IG can go. Aw, well, you don't have to post them, Sean, if you don't want to, but there's sort of two ways that posting or browsing on IG goes for me. I either get the, oh man, look at how talented all these people are, or I go, oh man, I will never have a tenth of the talent of Angel Heraldes. Man, that boy, that man has all the talent in the world. But that's okay. We work for our own pleasure a lot of the time. So as you guys can see, as I'm applying the shadow tone on here, I'm going into places first after I load the brush, so I load a pretty thin consistency on the palette. But even with that thin consistency, as you can see it on my thumbnail there, I'm first loading into places that I know I want a deep shadow on, and then I'm sort of drawing it out from there. So while I am loading the brush, not terribly heavily, but more heavily than I want on the broad parts of this greatcoat. I think it's a greatcoat. If you have opinions on whether or not this is a cloak or a greatcoat, I would love to hear them, because it is split fully up both the front and back, so that... Is it a hospital gown? Feels weird calling it a hospital gown, but that's probably the closest thing that we've got here. I mean, like, if we take a look around the back, it is split, right? So, like, the split goes all the way under his belt and all the way down the leg, and then at the front, it is held together. Like, it's got sleeves, but, like, that doesn't make it a coat. It's split on both sides. It's not a... What is this garment? Whatever, I'm going to refer to it as a greatcoat for now, until I am convinced otherwise. So, if you feel strongly about what this particular garment should be called, throw it in chat. Or, if you have opinions and you're watching this later on YouTube, throw it in the comment section. I'd love to have a debate over what this Space Marine is actually wearing, because it doesn't make sense to me, but then again, he is very, very small. So we're just going to keep building up shadow. Now, I am sort of lessening the shadow as we get closer to the bottom of the coat, at least with our deeper shadow tones here. I still want this to read as being like I still want it to read as being cream, which is really what we're trying to keep as far as colors on the cloak. And I want it to be sort of a dirty off-white color. Like when I say cream, I mean a combination of like pink, yellow, white, like peach white, I guess would probably be a good way of describing it. If I get too much of this blue, purple, Payne's grayish shadow tone across all of the cloak, we're going to stop reading some of the pink hues that are in this cloak. So cape or greatcoat or pajamas or hospital gown. We'll stop reading that color quite so clearly. But yeah. Oh, hey V. My roommate is also on here. You guys are all being so nice to me tonight. Thank you very much. Well, and by nice to me, I mean like hanging out. And that's, you know, about as nice as I expect for most people. I don't know what else. Well, if you wanted to be even nicer than, say, just hanging out, you could, you know, let your friends know that we're here hanging out. Maybe you have other people, other nerds in your life that you think would enjoy hanging out with me and occasionally Adam. And by occasionally Adam, I mean always Adam, except for tonight where I get to ramble all by myself. I should really have planned some sort of bigger takeover. Should have just changed up the format and everything. Really confused Adam when he got here. Is there some sort of prank I could pull? I don't think I could pull anything off before Adam's going to get on stream. Maybe I can. It seems like it will require effort. Effort I would rather put into painting this dude. But we'll get there. We will get there. So again, I'm just waiting. So as places become closer to the color I'm looking for, I'll sort of leave them alone. But we are wanting to create really defined shadows, especially here. So if we get a real close look at this dude, you can see that he's got two sort of rosary beads that go across sort of the top parts of his thighs. But yeah, so we want to make that is also a cream colored trinket, and I'm gonna highlight and shadow it a little bit differently just because it is meant to be pearls and or rosary. It's gonna get a little bit different treatment than what I'm gonna do with the cloak, cape, bathrobe, hospital gown here. Yeah, if you guys could smash that like or let somebody know. We're still running up to that 100 subscriber mark. We are currently stalled at 22. I would love it if we could get that up just a little bit more. But it's all right. We're gonna keep on keeping on. Our fun little community here. I can always count on V to come in and talk about smashing that like button. Always count on you, V. I appreciate it. So you'll notice that I'm not being overly worried about making sure that everything is super smooth. As far as like, there are patchy bits of color on here, and that's fine because this dude is going to look like he is in a patchy coat. That is literally from day one. I always like, even when I was conceiving of this particular model sculpt project, I always wanted in particular our hero marines or our subject marines to look a little, even though they are chapter paragons, I want them to look like they have lived a life, right? Like they didn't just roll off the Space Marine assembly line yesterday afternoon. I wanted them to look like they've got some personality to them. Like there is not necessarily decay, but okay, so part of my inspiration for the Dark Angels was like Franciscan Etruscan knight or Etruscan monks. And so in a lot of cases, that's a lot of homespun cloth. That's a lot of, you know, like, I don't want to say poor, but like less well-developed cloths and materials and stuff. So in a lot of those cases, when we're looking at those more primitive cloths, we are looking at rougher spins, and we are looking at mottled coloring because dyes were hard and continue to be. And if we want that as an inspiration, I am sort of looking for that like patchiness. Like, I don't want it to be pristine. Like, this guy isn't an ultramarine. He is not going to be, you know, super smooth and clean because, you know, Rowboat is yelling at him. He is instead going to be a little bit more, I don't want to say grimy. I also don't want to say grimdark, but it is leaning towards the grimdark and grimy side of things. The more I talk to myself out loud, the more I feel it. But again, just more shadow color. Especially in portions of deep shadow here, I am going to get a little bit more aggressive with my shadow color, just because I've got a good place for it here on this side of the coat split. And I will work that. All the way up underneath the belt as well. Just giving some pretty deep shadows up under that belt. Really help to situate this guy where we want him in lighting condition in our and you'll notice that I'm going a little bit harder around our trinket. I don't know, probably a relic. I'm sure that this would be called a relic in the actual game that he's got on his coat there. We're just going to keep moving around the model here in places where we have deep folds, continuing to drop that shadow color in. Also, chat, if you want, you can vote on the music. I forget exactly how this works on YouTube. I know how it works on Twitch because I did some practice Twitch streaming this weekend. It's fun. We are going to be going live probably on Thursday with Twitch. While I was alone, didn't have Adam here to save me from myself. Didn't really want to do the first Twitch stream live tonight, so. But we will be broadcasting on Twitch probably on Thursday, as I said. Something to look forward to, but I believe that you guys can actually vote on the music. Maybe it is only in Twitch chat commands, but I think it's or ! music on Twitch. I would have to look up how exactly you're supposed to control it in YouTube chat. Some of this has been really great free music. Some of this has been really bad free music. So let me know if you want to skip the backing track. Just say skip. Hey Steve, skip this track. I think I can even unlock music by democracy, which allows all of you to vote every time something comes up. Which I'm looking forward to because I feel like I will get to listen to nothing but copyrighted music at that point in time. I could be wrong, but seems like where I would vote for every Twitch streamer to go is just play nothing but Aqua's Barbie Girl over and over and over again until I had driven my favorite Twitch streamers. Just insane. Which, if any of you are looking for Twitch recommendations, I have many. I do love some Twitch. Now, you may be asking yourself, but Steve, then why aren't you streaming on Twitch? Because I don't like Bezos, and I don't like Twitch's terms of service, and I don't like their intellectual ownership laws. So we will be getting there, but I did not want to start. We'll put it that way. Also, I don't like the VOD policy with Twitch. I don't want to have to be a Twitch partner in order to be able to leave things up for more than a week. So that's, I mean, hopefully it's not that long before we can become Hey Ya by Outcast. Oh. Okay, if there is a worse one than Barbie Girl, you found it. That's not true. I actually really love Outcast, so Hey Ya just happens to be probably my least favorite song by Outcast, so Oh yeah, we have caught a wild Adam. All right, well, thanks for hanging out, Jamie. We will see you in a bit. In the meantime, I'm going to continue to put shadow color on things because, you know, there's nothing more thrilling than watching paint dry, especially when it's somebody else's paint. I should say that I always imagine, because of how I operate on Twitch and YouTube, long ago when I first started painting, and by long ago I mean like less than a decade ago. At any rate, when I first started painting, YouTube was my painting friend. And that's really what I'm hoping all of you guys are doing while you're doing this. I know probably, well, some of my top chatters aren't, but just because I know them in real life. And I don't think I've ever seen Jamie or V paint anything. V, have you ever actually painted a model? Jamie, I know you have, because you used to come over and hang out with Adam and I when you and Adam first started dating, and you used to paint stuff with us. But yeah, I always used to sit around watching YouTube videos and painting. So that was always my like constant companion. Well, I started up was watching Sarastro or Warhammer TV and painting along with them. Like, I mean, I guess it wouldn't have been Sarastro in the beginning or even Warhammer TV. I think it was probably Painting Buddha was probably the first one that I watched. Actually, hung out in Painting Buddha's Twitch stream last week. It was fun. I haven't seen a single video from him in a long time because he isn't a huge fan of YouTube. So I don't really want Outcast by Hey on repeat for the rest of my life. If I'm honest, I don't think I could do any music on repeat for the rest of my life, or the rest of my life would become a noticeably shorter period of time. Hey, Adam Jones on Stream Chat. How you doing, brother? How was work today? I assume that you got like the bat signal from Jamie being like, Steve's floundering, help him, get on chat, please. I can't handle just listening to his voice. Which is fair. That is a fair observation that anybody could make. So this playlist that I'm on is called Epic Chiptune, and it is somewhere between like Pokemon and Final Fantasy, I want to say. It's been interesting so far. I kind of like it, but that's me. Watched a stream this weekend where the guy was listening to nothing but the Cyberpunk 2077 soundtrack, and then kept getting re-listening to Grimes's track. I think it's 3 a.m. is Grimes's track off of Cyberpunk 2077 soundtrack, which not my favorite track. Not my favorite track, but that's all right. It was fun to just hang out, be in chat. Watch some painting technique go down. It is kind of fantasy Pokemon. So in some of these parts where I want a little bit warmer shadow, I am going to bring in a little bit of this walnut into our shadow color. Parts where I want warmer shadow are going to be broader parts. Where I want the really deep shadows, I'm still going to rely on our nice cool shadow tone, or almost Payne's Gray. You know, I say it sounds like Final Fantasy, but my only like actual recollections of Final Fantasy games, other than, well, I played 1 through 3, and then I don't think I've played another Final Fantasy game. Oh, Tactics. I've played Tactics. Yeah, Tactics was okay. It was while I was in a Game Boy Advanced SP sort of phase. I was one of those guys that owned one of those, and it is still my favorite handheld system, which is weird to say out loud because most people forget that that game system even existed. So it's always a awkward conversation when you have to be like, no, definitely there was a Game Boy Advanced between the Game Boy Advanced and the DS. Always fun explaining that particular jibbity jab. That's what I'm calling it, a jibbity jab. Learn new words with Steve Grossman these Thomas. Well, he paints a shadow. So we're gonna, even in places where I know we're gonna have fairly bright color, like I know that this straight on is basically my lighting angle. You can still, I'm still coming in here and sweeping in a lot of shadow tone because I know that I'm gonna want to take some of it off, but I don't exactly know where. So I'm gonna just put it on for now, and we will go through and take off what we don't need here in a bit. I don't want to build it up too much because obviously that's wasting time and effort, but I'm not so worried about things like the ragged edge that's happening over here. That's not that big a deal. 3, 7, 10, a little bit of 12. Yeah, man. Once it was gone off Super Nintendo and they made the transition over to, what was it? It was PlayStation, PS1. Even though I owned a PS1, I never really got back into it. Mostly because life. I don't know. I guess it never came back. Oh, you're feeling very, the Koopalings ships in Mario 3 right now. So right now that's Thar Brown I just put down onto the palette here, and I'm mixing in a little bit of shadow tone, and we're going to give ourselves our first intermediate with the Shep. So even though we've been really delicate and thin with applying our colors up until now, or our shadow color, we're going to start mixing up intermediates now and coming across the model and doing some smoothing while we continue to layer. And why am I going for such thin glazes and all the rest of it? Well, especially at this stage, in this step on our dude here, these are really, really broad spaces. So you guys can see how big that cloak is compared to the entire model. If I start going off and just working exclusively in heavy layers, or I'm putting down thicker layers of paint, it's going to end up with texture in it. And short of sanding down the model, there's nothing really I can do to get those out of there afterwards. Or overloading it with paint and hoping that I can take some of the texture. Listen, it's bad. I don't want to do it. It takes way more effort to clean up texture once it's onto the model than it does to just go slow, be methodical about our application of thin layers of paint. Now, that's not to say I'm putting down like no paint. I'm clearly putting down paint. Hoping that it's showing up in the color space on the camera. But this is cloak painting. It's super fun. Sometimes it is more fun than others. Right now, just wanting to get broad patches of color down. Because again, the more fun steps actually come up after this. So this part of it, this layering portion of our cloak, getting smooth transitions right now, is going to help us. We are going to add a whole bunch of visual information to this as we get into the final steps, because as I said earlier, I want this to be representing a rougher material. Like, I don't want this to be silk. I don't want this to be, 1,000 thread cotton. This is meant to be like rougher, more homespun than commercially produced cloth. Just feel like if we're sort of modeling this guy off of Monk, I want to get that into the cloth, dude. So the leather and whatnot. So talk about how we do all of that as we get closer. I'm going to forget to do the inside of his thing for a little while here, so I'm just coming back in with our shadow color, painting some shadows into places that will be deeply shadowed. Yeah, we're starting to get there. We are starting to get there. Now, you could be asking yourself, but what about the inside of the cloak? Like underneath the bottom? My answer to that is, I am going to glue this to a base. And in the places where you can actually see that, I will make some sort of deal about it. But otherwise, I'm going to forget it exists for right now. And see later on whether or not you can even see it in the final product. And if you can't, we're going to ignore it, because that seems like a giant pain in the patoot. I did already paint both of his legs to a fairly high standard, knowing that one of them I had to basically disassemble the entire model to get in there properly, which was actually kind of fun. I'm not going to lie to you. I like doing that sort of stuff, where it's like, nobody will ever know that this leg is painted quite to the standard, except for me, and now all of you, because I just admitted it on the internet. Of all of the internet admissions I could make, this is definitely not the worst. So I'm back to, obviously, my shadow color again. We're just establishing some nice contrasty shadows. So again, this is a combination of petroleum gray and petroleum gray and anthracite gray. So both of them from Scale Color. If you want to look them up, I believe that you can go on the Scale Color website and it'll show you exactly what they are, but they are also these. Look at them go. So anthracite gray being sort of a tealy black, and petroleum gray being it's pretty purpley for black, so we're using that to our advantage to make pretty neutral if cool color. And by cool, I mean like color temperature in Kelvin cool, but also as in like super nifty cool. Again, I'm just going back, reestablishing one more time just how deep I want the shadows to be under, say, this armpit here, bottoms of these folds that lead into the belt. Like a lot of these creases I am going to continue to darken down, even though I got kind of carried away on that other side and started doing midtones. I need to finish up these shadows, because otherwise I will forget, and then I will come back like an hour from now and be like, ugh, shadows. I'll say it exactly like that. I'll say, ugh, shadows. Let's get some shadow underneath of that arm. That's folded over. Up underneath of the arm. Let's also make sure that got a nice shadow to it. Yeah, I don't know. Talking about Final Fantasy still, I don't really know why I stopped, but I did, and then Final Fantasy VII came out and people were like, this game is incredible, and I was like, I see that, but I just, maybe I don't like video games. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe it's not that video games are bad, it's just that I don't particularly care for video games, because every time somebody's like, this video game, I'm like, yeah, that seems real cool. So, we're gonna talk about something other than video games? I don't know, like, I don't want to say that I don't like video games, because there are certain video games that I have spent way too many hours of my life on. Diablo 2, for example. Way too many hours of my life, to the point where I have run a sub 130 speedrun Sorceress through normal. I have run a Singer Barb through hell. I have run literally every build that you can think of in that game. I have probably run at least once. I have put in so many hours on the Civ series, probably in general, that now maybe it's just that I don't like particular styles of games. I don't know. What are your guys' favorite games? What's the stuff that occupies your time when you're not on the stream modeling, or even while you're on stream? Because I know that people actually play video games and listen to the stream at the same time, or maybe not on our stream in particular, but I know in other people's streams that's a pretty popular activity, is
And actually, I watch Mr. Llama. I normally watch Mr. Llama unless I'm watching it on YouTube. I normally watch Llama and either run run normally I'm just doing my magic find, like my Holy Grail character for Diablo 2, while I am watching Mr. Llama speedrun. But the Holy Grail character, Holy Grail in Diablo 2's community is literally all the items. So you have to, because Diablo 2 has, I think it's almost, I want to say, well, I know for sure it's over 500 items, and I want to say it's probably closer to 1,000, 1,300 items that are absolutely unique in the game. So this is either uniques or set items, like something that is a part of a larger set. So we're talking greens and oranges as far as set colors or item drop colors. My Holy Grail, I've got about 90% or so of the available items in the game. So that includes things like runes and rare gems, torches, endgame, which torches are end game content. Yeah, I've got about. Listen, I could go and boot it up, but I've got well over 80% of the game, the items in game with my Grail Assassin. How do you keep those items? You use a pluggy mod. It's just a mod that you can load in that allows you to have not unlimited inventory. Well, I guess the latest update gives you unlimited inventory, but it allows you to expand your inventory and give you several dozen stashes. I mean, it's all one stash, but you can just offload all of the inventory into that stash. At any rate, that is probably the game that I have the most cumulative hours into. And it's probably my favorite game. Period. Like, there's not really another game that's coming to mind right now where I'm like, maybe that's my favorite game. It's probably just Diablo 2. I don't know. Adam likes to play lots of games like Arma or not Arma. He's got Mech Warrior, and he's got a series of stuff. Not really the same stuff I'm normally into. I mean, as I think we've recounted on the stream, I think I stopped playing Mech Warrior / BattleTech after. I think I got all the way through 2. No, I know I got all the way through 2. And I made it to Commanders. I made it further. I think it's called Commanders. The one where you're playing the top-down version of MechWarrior, and then whatever that's called. But yeah, that one I got through both installments of it, and then I believe that they stopped. Maybe it was MechWarrior Tactics. Can't remember right now. Clearly, it's made a huge impression on my life. Yeah, I've heard that the new BattleTech RTS and real-time strategy is probably the way that I would get into BattleTech, just because it is kind of closest to the board game, as far as I know. But it's been a while since I've played MechWarrior of any sort, and it didn't help that MechWarrior 5 just got dumped on. I don't want to say dumped on, but it didn't get particularly generous reviews when it first came out. So, I mean, I don't want to say dumped on, and then I say it anyway, because that's who I am as a human being. Inconsistently consistent. So again, I'm starting to scrub in back into our midtones. I don't want to eliminate too much of those shadows, but on these real raised surfaces, on the areas I know that are going to be facing toward the light, I'm gonna just work a little bit here to get consistent mid-tone back and sort of eliminate some of the coffee staining that I had on that side because I was a little too watery and wasn't paying maybe enough attention, paying attention while I was applying paint. So yeah, we'll work on it. So up next for the channel here, we are, as I said, we are approaching the end of Volume 1. I said that in the intro. We're getting down to probably the last couple of weeks. We'll do work tonight on the cloak. We're going to do some work situating these guys, talking about how exactly I like to situate things in a diorama, or how I imagine situating things in a diorama, just because there's some interesting stuff that I've learned about how to place things in lighting conditions, and it's stuff that actually gets done right towards the end of the modeling, like right towards the end of the painting process. So that's sort of it. We're gonna get through tonight's. We'll probably have a live stream where I do some of the final light placement on the model, as far as when it goes in the diorama. I might do one as far as if I could keep this guy on stream, that'd probably be great for the rest of you. I'll probably do one more live stream that is dealing with some of the highlighting of some of the freehand I've to put on this guy, just because I feel like that's also a topic that is of interest. But if there's anything else you guys would like me to capture on stream for this dude before we move on to our Emperor's Children, which is the second chapter. Well, it's not actually the second chapter, but chapter 2 we are going to come back to at some point in the future. It will not necessarily be done in order, because I am waiting for some bits for the second chapter, the unnamed, unknowable chapter according to Space Marine lore, or the current Space Marine lore, I guess. But we will come back to the second chapter. In the meantime, it is an Emperor's Children in between. And by in between, I mean next, essentially. So yeah, we got, maybe 2-3 weeks of this dude and his fallen companion left, and then we are going to be moving right along. Also, if you guys have suggestions for, what you think we should be doing with that Emperor's Children, because I've got some ideas, but I would love to hear your guys' ideas on what we would do with an Emperor's Children. Like an Emperor's Children infantryman, knowing, of course, that the Emperor's Children never fell to chaos. Fulgrim never, did Fulgrim-y things. So imagine a bunch of perfect Space Marines, I guess. As I said, I have some ideas, but I am always open to hearing what you guys would interpret that to mean, because I think that's fun. I think that's cool. We come up with ideas together, and I'd love to hear your guys' ideas on this one. So again, we're just working to blend our mid-tone back into the shadows. Get closer and closer on this guy. Again, you can see that I'm not going to do too much as far as blending on sort of this backside here. I will be doing a little bit as far as just sort of smoothing some things out. But I want to keep that side of it fairly shadowed. Just giving directionality to our light. That's, there's there's unlimited color to play. Like, that's the beauty and joy of painting, is that there are unlimited colors. But at least painting versus digital graphic design, which is what I do with a lot of the rest of my day, where there is limited color palettes, and it gives me all sorts of exclamation marks and tells me that half of the world won't be able to see that color if that's the one you choose. At any rate, I dropped the thread on that one. I was going to say something deep and insightful. Or not. I was just going to yammer on to myself while I occasionally... The Fabio Space Marines. I mean... Adam, I will believe that... I will believe... I have been burned so much in the last 2 years by developers promising that things will get better with updates, that I am now firmly in the camp of everything is garbage until it isn't. Cyberpunk and CD Projekt Red can continue to tell me that Cyberpunk is getting better, but until it's actually better, they're lying. They're lying. I don't feel like I need to expand much on that. Fabio Space Marines, you're not far off from where I was thinking, Sean. That is.
You guys remember the like weird meme story about Fabio getting hit in the face by a goose?
I don't even remember who tells that story. I remember there's a comedian who talks about how Fabio got hit in the face by a goose while he was riding a roller coaster. And that is my lasting impression of Fabio. Like, there's no other memory that I have of Fabio. Like, I think I've seen his face. He was in Zoolander, probably. But, like, I feel like if I were to see Fabio, like, walking down the street now, I'd be like, that's a very pretty man, and that'd pretty much be it. I don't think I'd have any sort of, like, deeper recognition than that's a very pretty man. Brent Butt. That's who you're thinking of. And thank you. Yes, you are correct. It is Brent Butt who talks about. That's why, because it was on Just for Laughs like a billion times. And back in ye olde days of cable, it was my time was spent flicking between Simpsons episodes and Just for Laughs, because cable TV wasn't better, but like it at least had like that sort of variety. I don't know. You could watch Simpsons. I'm pretty sure that towards the end of everybody having cable, at least in Canada, because I'm essentially calling the cable is over now. You could watch The Simpsons and or The Simpsons and Just for Laughs like 24 hours a day, because up here we don't get Comedy Central. What was our equivalent of Comedy Central called? Where they just played because of Canada's content laws, we have laws that were enacted in the 1970s that said that every TV channel had to have a certain amount of Canadian content, and now they're trying to do that to YouTube and Facebook, which, like, good luck. But anyway, yeah, you could basically, between The Simpsons and Just for Laughs, which was the Comedy Network's. That's what it was. It was Comedy Networks. They just replay the stand-up set from, well, the Just for Laughs festival, really, that everybody came up and did in Montreal on an annual basis. So they would come up, do a tight 10 on the main stage in Montreal, and then kind of be off for the do the rest of Montreal, right? But that stuff used to play just nonstop. Yeah, endless Just for Laughs gags, which Just for Laughs gags was also a purchased show. Like, it wasn't filmed in Canada, all of it. Some of the segments were, like, enough for it to hit Canadian content laws. Which, again, not really Canadian content, but, they did the thing that they promised to do. People in certain parts of our country were given money to produce television content. It's Quebec. It's always Quebec. They get money in Quebec to produce culturally relevant television for Canada. It's not always Quebec. Actually, Alberta's starting to get... I think we actually have soundstage facility now, which was part of the big debate, I want to say like 5 to 10-ish years ago, when we were trying to build the Albertan film industry. As an Albertan, I can speak to this a little bit. And somebody who's had to work with a number of gotten to work with a bunch of arts organizations over the time. Part of the issue with using Canada as a filming location is that it is a remote location. Like, it is very remote as far as even like Vancouver and moving a production up here and all the rest of it. So they normally do it location scouted because they need. I mean, Metro Vancouver steps in for a lot of cities, North American cities in particular. It's always fun to see like the Lionsgate Bridge and be like, that's not Los Angeles, guys. That's the Lionsgate. We're seeing like parts of Richmond, and you're like, that is not Nowhere Town, USA. That is Richmond, BC. There's yeah, as far as the production, they were buying it from French radio or French television for Just for Laughs gags. At any rate, I was talking about oh yeah, film and television production in Canada, or in Calgary and Alberta specifically. We didn't have soundstage space, so I know that there is at least one soundstage that's actually active now in Calgary. I believe that there are plans for another couple as far as reconfigurable soundstage, which is huge when you're doing production, like when you're doing, especially scouted production, like when they're doing action movies, when they did the Jesse James movie with Brad Pitt and Inception and all the rest of it. There's just no soundstage space in Alberta, and not having access to that space and having to move a production from, it's a big deal moving production. I mean, this is why most of the Marvel movies are all shot in Atlanta. It's not because, Atlanta's the greatest place on the planet, though Georgia has really, really great tax incentives. It's mostly because they can move that production team really efficiently around the Greensburg lot and around all of Atlanta, because they're just familiar with the location now. And Atlanta's done a lot of work to really build up that side of the film industry as well for itself. So a combination of cool tax breaks that means that like Marvel Studios, Disney doesn't have to pay a whole lot in taxes. And then on top of it, they also basically get to run around and own Atlanta. Well, not Atlanta when they're shooting. They still film a surprising amount of that stuff in Vancouver. Like, even though that's not true. They're starting to change that a little bit. They have, especially with the Marvel movies, they tend to do location shooting now in the actual location. So if they are saying that this is New York City is always the exception to this. If you say you're in New York, you actually have to use B-roll footage from New York. Don't ask how I know this. It was a dumb side project from my 20s. And you actually have to have live roll sound, which super giant pain. You can have non-New York locations, like, you can have Metropolis or Gotham, and they're both meant to be New York-ish, but you just don't call them that at any rate. New York adjacency is a weird thing in films. At any rate, the having of a soundstage in Alberta is a huge thing for our or for that industry in particular. And I'm glad that we have soundstage space that is online, because that makes film and television production an actual possibility as opposed to a taxpayer-funded nightmare. Just gonna wait for that to dry on that side a little bit. On this side, I am going to pick out some of these edges a little bit. Like, I'm not doing like edge highlighting or something weird like that, but I am going to give just a nice smooth coat of paint on the side. Sometimes I will even keep my painting on camera, just for fun, just for something different. So just leaving it in the middle of nowhere half the time. So yeah, other than Fabio Marines, if anybody has suggestions for what they'd like to see the Emperor's Children, if you have ideas with lore, or if the Emperor's Children happen to be your favorite chapter and you wanna shout it out, you've got definitive opinions on what you think would and would not be a part of possibly the weirdest chapter of all of Space Marines. I don't know, would they count as the weirdest? I mean, they gotta be up there. Anybody who can support Fabius Bile being just himself. For those of you who don't know, Fabius Bile is a weirdo who's really into genetic modification. I don't know how to say that better. Just a real weird dude who is a part of the Emperor's Children and now is running around the universe stealing genetic material from Space Marines, just being even weirder about it than he was before. So we're getting a little closer there. We're still going to keep working on smoothing down. As I said, this isn't going to be perfectly blended, and that is intentional. We are still going to have, even though it's not, you know, you'll see. We'll keep working this. It becomes apparent what sort of style and texture of cloth we're going for the closer we get. I have used this technique before to great effect to make colored fabric, well, or stained looking fabric, or old looking fabric is sort of what we're doing with this. We're not necessarily making pristine fabric. Is definitely the thing we want the least out of this. We do not want pristine fabric. We are looking for kind of gross fabric, if I'm honest. Like sheets I wouldn't want to sleep in fabric. Speaking of sheets I wouldn't want to sleep in, I used to have a roommate, and it has been, oh goodness, more than, it's probably been, how old am I now? It's been at least 15 years since I lived with this roommate, so I don't think that anybody on here would know him in particular. But I had a roommate, so we moved in together. We lived together for, you know, basically our lease, like a year or whatever. In the entire time that we lived together, from him moving in, like us moving in together, because we signed the lease together and all the rest of it, from us moving in together to a year later when he was moving out and I was moving a different roommate in, he literally never made his bed. Like, not once. Like, and when I say he didn't make his bed, it's not just like the sheets were, you know, like draped somewhere and like, you know, whatever, kind of messy or whatnot. No, dude never made his bed. As in, his bed never had sheets on it. Not once. Not even just for funsies. I don't know. Like, just bare mattress. Straight up bare mattress. And partners came home and were like, this seems okay. Like, this seems natural. I don't get that. I feel like I would have at least like questioned it and been like, oh, are you doing laundry? And maybe they did. I don't know. It was a 2-story apartment. Maybe people questioned. Maybe people were like, "Oh, you doing laundry, or like, what's the story here?" But like, a year. How do you go a year and never put sheets on your bed? So we're getting pretty close with the blends there. Again, this is sort of our angle, our sunlight angle. You guys can see it's wet, so I'm just letting it dry up a little bit here. Don't get me wrong, like, I'm not the cleanest of roommates, but like, as I'm sure V can attest to, but like, bed has sheets on it.
Steve can hear me.
I can hear you, Adam, and so can everyone else.
Yeah.
Yeah, what up, buddy?
Oh, that was a long ass fucking.
I assume so. Sean was joking that you got distracted by rocks, and I told him that you definitely weren't.
No, I did get to spend 2 hours of my morning in the mini excavator.
Ooh, mini excavator.
Yeah, I am now 2 hours closer to getting my certificate on.
Nice. That sounds like fun. Definitely
Yeah.
better than what my morning was.
I mean, the morning wasn't the greatest for everybody else. All the other guys got yelled at.
That definitely sounds less fun than operating a mini excavator.
Yeah, I mean, I was exempt from the chewing out that everybody else got, so that was kind
Nice.
of right. I always quite enjoy that one.
Do you want to lead a workshop seminar for 45 communications and marketing specialists in a variety of industries?
No.
No, you don't? Because that was my morning, and I learned that I was running that seminar approximately 40 minutes before I was, because that's how my relationship with my boss goes sometimes.
That does not sound fun.
To be fair, I didn't have to do a whole lot as far as content for it. Most of what I was doing was facilitation, because I mean, obviously, I have a lot of experience in that area, but I was also not meant to be leading it. I was just supposed to be there to help the seminar flow. But if you've ever been in a Zoom call with 60 other people,
Yep.
60 people means no one talks, or the speaker talks, and then like 3 or 4 extroverts, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, people who want to be noticed by senpai, and then everybody else is like, I'm just gonna be quiet because I feel awkward about disrupting this many people.
Was there just like one bald guy spraying silver spray paint on his mouth saying, "Witness me"?
No, they were definitely there was a couple of people who just need to get down to brass tacks and find each other in a nice space and take each other to dinner. But other than that, and then find a dark hotel room and do the nasty. But like other than that, nah. There wasn't anybody who was being particularly Mad Maxian.
Ooh, guess what shipped today? My merch.
Nice.
Yeah, I got the notification while I was at work.
Nice. So, if you want to be cool like Adam, you can go onto our Willow link down in the description already. We got stickers. We've got t-shirts. I am wearing a t-shirt. This is one of the stickers. Look at that big old choice eye. But there is stuff for our new Helmguard Giants. There is stuff for the Orkland Raiders. Anything you want from our channel, you can go on there. It is a great way to support us. All of the revenue that comes through on that goes directly back into making this stream possible. And or better? Possible and or better. We'll go with those measurements. You know what time it is, though, Adam?
It's time for the news.
All right. What do you got up first here, Adam?
This is actually like I swear this is the Kickstarter edition of the news. I did fall into a little bit of a Kickstarter black hole. So the first one we got up here is Station Fall. It's kind of like from what I can gather, it's like a free-formish mini heavy board game.
Yeah. So I keep going.
I was kind of like glancing over some of the stuff at work. I really like the minis for this, and the premise of the game sounds neat. I like how everyone kind of got a role and minis and fun artwork. I like that one of the characters is just Astro Chimp.
I was going to go with a Jakaro, which is the one thing that I really wish would come back.
There is actually a Jakaro mini now. There's a current one, and he has rules.
Is it the Jakaro who is made out of lumps of Finecast? Because I don't want that Jakaro.
No. I want to say in the Rogue Trader box.
Rogue Trader has the Cyber Doberman, but it doesn't have a monkey in it.
I do. There is one box that's not for like main 40k, one of their like offshoot side games that has a Jakaro in it.
Well, I'm never gonna get that box. Anyway, space monkeys are great. There's also a space lab rat, just in case we're wondering.
Yes.
Also, the premise of this game is incredible to me. Did you read through what the premise is, Adam?
Briefly yesterday when I got sucked into like a
Okay, so
Kickstarter black hole.
yeah, so what this game is it's what's the game where you're all the little dudes and you're trying to figure out who the traitor is?
It's Among Us, but a board game.
Sort of. The things about this game is you're on a station and the space station is falling into the atmosphere. So you're going to get flamey Armageddon death if you don't work together. But there are also xenomorphs on board. Like, you can see, I'm just on the station chief version of the pledge here. There is definitely xenomorph that is running around. So it is a cooperative board game. There's no antagonists in it. The xenomorph is... It's not actually called a xenomorph in this, but I'm going to go with xenomorph anyway.
This is a Project X monster.
There you go. The Project X monster is going to run around and eat you while your space station is falling down. So you have to run around and fix up all the things that are going wrong with your space station to keep it in orbit, as well as some of you might get eaten by a xenomorph. And the telepathic rat is definitely a playable character, and that makes me so incredibly happy.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw this game like as I was just kind of scrolling for some news at work on my breaks.
That's fair.
And I like stuff in space and aliens, and they had me at Astro Champ.
Totally fair. So you guys can pick that up. Ion Game Design, they're a Swedish manufacturer. They're the guys who are behind this Kickstarter. They have had other stuff backed before, so only 4 days left. So by the time we are back on stream next time, we'll be down to the final 48 hours. This is actually one that I could probably get behind. I will check that out later. What else have we got this week?
So the next one is, of course, because it's Warhammer Fest, or it was. You and I were talking about this one actually the other day, and how excited we were for it. It is Beast Snega Orcs, the army set.
Yeah.
I absolutely love all of the Beast Snaggers. Like,
oh, I was gonna play the intro video, but it's fine. It's gonna be all laggy because I am using literally all of the up and down right now.
Yeah, like, well, I'm not sure if I ever started like a big orc army, if I'd ever like play them as Beast Snaggers, but I definitely use those guys as new boys because I hate the boys minis.
Yeah, and this actually leads into something else that I wanted to chat with you about. So, remember when they launched the first one of these guys? So they had the Squig Rider, the new Squig Riders, right?
Yeah.
That was the first thing that we saw of the Beast Snagas. It comes in both Age of Sigmar and 40k in the same box, right? They showed the part swap for it.
Oh, cool. I did not know that.
Yeah, so they showed it that it had a set of part swaps, and I could go find the community post that shows it. Age of Sigmar 3 also launched on Saturday in our part of the world. I guess that was probably Saturday morning. Well, Saturday sometime during the day for everyone, I think. Maybe not in Oceania. At any rate, yeah, so they announced Age of Sigmar 3.0. There's going to be new Sigmarines because, of course, there's got to be new Sigmarines. They're redesigning a lot of that. Well, so far they've announced 4 redesigns for their primary guys. So the Paladins, at any rate. They also said that there is a new breed of enemy coming with Age of Sigmar 3. And it would shock me if it were not the Beast Snega Orcs, except for instead of being 40k, they are the Age of Sigmar equivalent. Just knowing already that there is sets where they have them in both it wouldn't surprise me if this box that they're showing for the 40k Beast Snagga Orcs, if there was, say, another logo that either goes here and here, that is the Age of Sigmar 3 logo, which we also haven't seen yet. Since this is just a rendering anyway, it would shock me. I would be shocked to my very core. Well, I wouldn't be that shocked, but I'd still be shocked if this wasn't both. If this wasn't both the Beast Snaggas in 40k and whatever we're going to be calling them, probably Beast Snaggas in Age of Sigmar, as the Age of Sigmar, their new god woke up. That's God of Destruction, and they're referring to it as the Age of Destruction. So it would shock me terribly if we didn't get these guys also as Age of Sigmar orcs. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Another fun thing for this is if you scroll a little bit further down, there's the new war boss in mega armor, and he looks so good.
Yeah. I gotta
It's
say,
nice to have a war boss in mega armor that's not just like a Gazcol hit bash.
yeah, this still looks really close to Gazcol for me. Like, obviously, it's not as big as Gazcol is, but like, it was just too similar for me, maybe.
Yeah. I really love the 40k orc armor and technology, because if they believe hard enough, it just works.
So, and this came up somewhere on Reddit this weekend. If you believe hard enough that you are the good guys, does that just mean that you are the good guys of 40k? If you can just believe that you're so good, the WOG is just like, yeah, you guys are the good guys. Manifested.
I mean, yeah, I would kind of lean towards that. The orcs are probably one of the less dickish factions.
Yeah.
They never really try to, lure you in with false promises, and
No, they're just there for a good fight.
Yeah.
The other thing, and we would be remiss if we didn't talk about it. There's a new box of Cadians coming.
these are actually gonna just be standard guardsmen now. I guess no, it is a box of Cadian shock troops.
It is a box of Cadian shock troops. This was something that they clarified later, because people were asking, "Oh, is this just the Astra Militarum now, or is this an extra sprue like they did the Space Marine sprues?" And they're like, "No, it is a full box of Cadian shock troopers." So there is still no sign of any other guard troop than the Cadians and some Catachans. Oh, and our ghost guys, the Goths ghosts.
Yes. What was I going to say? Weirdly enough, in 9th edition, DKOK actually has official Games Workshop rules and not just the old Forge Gold ones, which is kind of nice.
They sort of do. DKOK has a codex that is the Forge World Codex, so it is also your Knights Titan and oh man, who else is in that book? Oh, all of the weird heavy artillery too is also in that book.
Oh yeah, like the double basilisk and all that stuff, and
your Forge World tanks and whatnot.
Yeah. My favorite part about this new box is the heads.
Yeah, those are some pretty sweet heads, and I would be really happy if a box actually came with, what is that, 30 heads?
Yep.
Also, there's female faces in this box.
Yep, because
that's really
like
cool.
In any of the guardsman fluff, like the garter, they don't care. If you can hold a fancy flashlight, you got the job.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's happening with Age of Sigmar is the Sigmarines, the Stormcast Eternals are also going to be an evenly balanced force coming in the near future. So they've had female Stormcast Eternals since AOS 2, so it's cool to see that now your regular rank and file troops will be mixed gender, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, I am a fan of the Guard. They literally, out of every faction in 40k and like sub faction they're in, the Guard definitely, like, the stick they're given is so short they don't even get a stick anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, they did get lore buffed from Cadia, but Yeah, you're right.
like I mean, I won't mention the bastard child that is Heretic Astartes, because that's a whole nother can of worms. It's just like out of like in the fluff, the worst job you could ever get in 40k would be a guardsman. Like that is just would never be fun. Not one.
Yeah, that's totally fair.
Yeah,
What else have we got in the news this week?
The news, the next one here is, oh yeah, pirate board.
Pirate board game.
Pirate board game. This one I didn't realize until after is actually just a digital edition. It's very much overfunded. They only wanted like $850. They now have almost $9,000. But yeah, I know that you like pirates, and I like pirates.
I do like pirates.
And
you know what I like more than pirates? Dwarf pirates.
yes, dwarf pirates. Oh, there are dwarf pirates. Yes.
Yeah, there are. There are not.
Yeah, and
go ahead.
Yeah, the nice thing about this is, as you can see, they are fully supported STL files, so there's no funny business, and it's all fantasy races mostly.
Yeah. No, it is
There's
all
also-
fantasy races. It's great.
And yeah, that's kind of what I was like. Oh, I was like, okay, pirate game. It's like, wait, it's dependent on your race, like D&D. There's stuff that I get because of who I pick. Cool. Yeah, and I'm always stoked on pirate stuff, and this looks pretty good. I don't. How much longer do they actually have on?
It's only a couple of days, 6 days
6
left.
more
so.
days.
Yeah.
And that's I quite enjoy these. I mean, it would be nice to see maybe some actual like actual miniatures of them, and not just like the 3D renders. But you know, they from the 3D renders, they look pretty good. I love that they're like, hey, here's actual proof that our files are fully supported.
Yeah.
It would be nice if they actually had maybe printed off some of the base stuff. Let's see. What have they? Oh yeah, so they're almost funded for their last expansion.
Yeah, they are really far down the road. So it is one of those projects. You got 6 days left to hop in on it. It is a cool project. I mean, if there was a skirmish game that I know that I'm missing deep down in my heart, it is definitely a pirate skirmish game.
Yeah,
there are lots of boat skirmish games. There are lots of near future post-apocalyptic. There are lots of fantasy skirmish games out there, but I have yet to see pirate skirmish game, and that does a good job of it. There are even there are games out there that are pirate games that are big army games. Man, I don't want 1,000 pirates. I want a handful of pirates that I can beat up your pirates with. So this looks really cool.
I do actually. I'll send you a link to another pirate game later on. It's essentially you can go it's just you have a ship and a crew, and that's it. That is your force.
Yeah, and I've seen lots of that size of game, and I'm really hoping for just we want to take a ship, or we're trying to take this hill of booty or whatever, that small pirate band versus small pirate band. That's really where I'm at. 5 to 10 characters at most.
Well, I guess they do actually. When you scroll further down near the bottom, there's actual pictures of the painted minis, and they look good. I think my favorite one is probably the pirate dwarf chef with a fish and a cleaver.
Yeah, they look okay. They are as good as Forge World. I will give them that, but they are okay.
Yeah, I would put these on par with Hero Forge.
Yep.
Yeah, they're not the best, but I mean, you're not really paying for.
Yeah, I mean, when you can see the pledge levels for the full game, get to print everything is £50. Like, okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Like, that's $100 Canadian, essentially. I don't know what the current exchange rate is, but it's probably roughly $100. And
we're about $1.80 versus the pound right now. So
I've paid more for significantly less Games Workshop boxes.
Totally fair. And last up, Shadows over Soul Jovian Whispers.
This one hit like a huge nostalgic button for me last night when I was reading it. I'm a sucker for like realistic, like hard science fiction, so like as realistic as possible, I guess. I'm a big fan of the Expanse TV show and book series. But when I saw it, I initially thought it was a new update for an old role-playing game called The Jovian Chronicles.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's actually a whole new game. I'm super excited. I'm probably gonna back this one.
Yeah, so Shadow over Soul was one of the many sci-fi systems I've actually taken a look at. It is a cool game. Yeah, as I said, it's been published on Drive-Thru RPG. It's gotten 4.9. It is not widely circulated for that 4.9, but it is well loved by the people who love it. So yeah. I would totally be willing to look further into this. I like the idea and premise of what is it called? Jovian something or other. I'm missing it.
Jovian Whispers.
There we go. Jovian Whispers. Because the entire idea is that while the main setting is off on one side, all of the colonies around Jovian, like all the colonies in the Jovian system, which is all the planets around Jupiter or moons around Jupiter, they've all gone quiet. And there is some sort of insurrection virus going around, which is always super fun for me. I like the idea of viral infections traveling through community because I'm a sucker, and 2020 and 2021 haven't hurt me enough.
Yeah, I do actually believe there is a edge level that does also get you the main game, the Saul one, that gets you like all the books for Saul as well.
Yeah, $70, and it gets you print and PDF versions of Shadows over Saul, as well as the Jovian Whispers, as well as Siren's Call campaign, which is their campaign setting not campaign setting, their like actual campaign. You can go above and beyond. You can do their game line one, which every book that they have ever put on Kickstarter, which, if I remember correctly from Shadows over Saul, is like 20 books. Like, it is a ridiculous number of books. Now, some of them are pretty short, but like, because it's all their like one-page adventures and stuff that they did on the last one too, all collected together.
And like they're about over halfway of their like pledge. I think they're over their pledge goal, but for like their like next level stuff is they don't have too many away, and like some of them aren't even like monetary goals. Some of them are like, hey, if we get 33 Patreons, we unlock this level and everything between that and our last unlock level, which is cool.
Yeah.
This looks really neat. I have kind of been jonesing for a sci-fi RPG, but we actually our group has not had much luck deviating from D&D.
Yeah, that comes partly down to their dungeon master. I don't know who would just keep switching back and forth between game systems. That guy must be awesome.
I mean, we've experimented with a lot of awesome systems and found probably one of our favorite systems outside of D&D being the Sentry book. I really enjoy that system.
Yeah, I love Fate Period. The Spirit of the Century is always a premise that will speak to me.
Yep, that weird World War stuff.
Yep.
And it's like, hey, if you don't want to play like Turn of the Century, feel free to advance the timeline.
Yeah.
Your characters will just be older, but not look that age.
Yeah, and I
I love that sort of timeline. I am so firmly stuck in Indiana Jones as being the greatest setting for anything in all of time, because you get to run around punching actual Nazis and having grand old adventures in the middle of nowhere. If there is one thing that like one campaign that I could go back and revive in all of the campaigns I'd run or have run so far, I would love to see the return of our Spirit of the Century game. Not
Red Sun.
Yeah, because
Oh man, I love Red Sun, but it definitely brought out some dark sides.
Yeah, I think we had fun with it, and
I really enjoy that. I miss my character a lot. He was super fun to play.
Yeah. I mean, probably not stream friendly, but it is one of those things that
not stream friendly at all.
I had a lot of fun playing that game with you guys, and any, maybe that's something else that you and I should talk about offline, but I would totally play that as a one-on-one just on stream. We could just do solo adventures and occasionally bring you in extra cast members if you wanted it. But
I would be down for that. I mean, I had fun on when we did the test stream. That was part of my character's backstory where I fought a Yeti.
You did fight a Yeti.
And then I tried to save its life, and it just tried to fight me more, and so I let it fall down a crevasse.
It's true.
Because he played a stupid game, and then he found out it was at the bottom of that crevice.
Well, to be fair, you were invading Shangri-La and stealing kryptonite. Man, that setting is so bonkers, and I love it.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah, so you guys... So if anybody here doesn't understand what we're talking about, we played an RPG system called Spirit of the Century. Normally, the premise is that you're centenarians or you're part of this Century Club. It's normally set in like the 1920s, like the Age of Adventure kind of a deal, like the Indiana Jones timelines kind of a deal. So we advanced it a little bit, so it was in the 1930s, and that Superman, not in the 1930s, in the 1940s. I think I put it in. No.
Oh yeah, it was 47 we were playing.
Yeah, there we go, because it was post World War II, so World War II had ended. But yeah, so we had changed a little bit of the premise, and then we'd added Superman, Red Sun Superman into the world. So if anybody isn't familiar with Red Sun Superman, it is essentially what if Superman landed in Soviet Russia instead of in a field in
Kansas?
Kansas, yeah. So
is it Kansas?
It is Kansas.
Yeah. I did watch the DC animated Red Sun, and it was really good.
Oh yeah, Terrorist Soviet Batman is my favorite Batman.
My favorite part's when he's in love with Wonder Woman, and she just is like, "No, you literally became what you hated."
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna beat you into the ground and scold you while I do it.
Yeah, because not to spoil it too much, but we can talk about sort of what happens. Soups is when Lois Lane and him, or the Lois Lane equivalent and him, are trapped in a Russian mining colony, Soups eventually breaks free on behalf of the workers. He becomes Joe Stalin's right-hand boy, his big propaganda piece. And then eventually Soups kills Stalin because he's like, one man shouldn't have all this authority. Then after taking out Joey Stahls, he becomes an authoritarian tyrant who can only be beaten by Lex Luthor.
Yeah, because Lex Luthor's the good guy, and
good in quotation marks.
Yeah. Superman literally one punches the entire Lantern Corps to death.
Yeah. Batman is a terrorist. Like he is a Trotskyite terrorist. It's kind of great.
He's a dirty commie.
Well, he's a Trotskyist, which is better than being a Stalinist, I think. I mean, if I was to rank dirty communist factions, I guess.
This is true. So the last one in the news actually isn't new, but it's a universe that both you and I really love, and it's Starship Troopers.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to you. I only have 4 places on the pad, but we can talk about it. You guys can go see it. It's on Board Game Geek. If you want to if you guys want to go and take a look at it, it is boardgamegeek.com/Starship Troopers. And this is the Starship Troopers minigame that has been around since, I think it was 2005? Yeah, there you go. Which is sometimes in print and sometimes out of print.
Yep, it is currently in print. They are 30 millimeter minis, so they're quite large, actually. But yeah, so your mobile infantry, your cap troopers, actually look like the cap troopers from the CGI animated series,
which is
actually
sort of closer to the book.
Yeah, sort of. I think the one that's closer to the book is actually the anime Starship Troopers.
Yes.
I actually have the suit from that show. I bought it from Hobby Link Japan because, yeah, it was the last one they had in stock. And I was like, yep, don't mind if I do.
Totally fair.
Yeah, if you guys are a fan of Starship Troopers and want more than just the John Verhoeven amazing movie. With
Paul Verhoeven.
Paul. Sorry, I was reading John on the screen.
Yep.
I was saying that. Yeah, that movie's amazing. The live action sequels are not.
The live action sequels are amazing in a totally different and not actually amazing way.
Yes. The CGI sequels
better.
Are quite good.
Yeah.
If you can find the anime Starship Troopers, it's only in subbed English. There's no dubbed version of it, and there probably never will be. It's pretty old. It's like early 90s. But it's really good. Really, really good. Super close to the book, especially if you're a fan of the book. If you've never read the book, read it. It is amazing.
The book is great because it's really well, like, it is a cool, well built world. The more times I've read it, the more times I'm like, oh, this helped me be a weird right-wing fascist as a teenager, which is kind of unforgivable. Hey, we all make mistakes. Sometimes we fall to fascism because you should have to serve in the military in order to vote. Young Steve was dumb. I don't actually believe that any longer. I don't think that you need to do federal service in order to be able to vote. Everybody should be able to vote. Yeah, the Starship Troopers minis do look pretty good.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. Like, there's a pretty big variety. Like, it's cap troopers, all the different kinds of bugs, like the tankers, brain bugs, the creepy burrowing giant maggot things from the CGI show, the like two different marks of Marauders, plus the cyborg cap trooper guy. Yeah, it looks really fun. I love Starship Troopers. I know you do. And I figured you'd heard about this, but it kind of, when I was looking for news, it was like, hey, Starship Troopers. It's like, yeah, I'll look at that 16-year-old game. Yep, that's going in here because you're selling it right now.
Totally fair.
Yeah. Right now, because it is the end of the news. Maybe a good time for you to have a little break there, Steve.
I will take a break here in just a minute. So, I'm starting to do the work on our highlighting process. And let's just talk about that briefly before we take a break here. But you guys can see on the highest parts of our highlights here, and even out into the field of it, I'm just going through and putting these slashy lines. Then I'm going to come and spin the model a little bit, and I'm going to do some counter slashing. And we're going to use this to build up the color on our highlight areas. Now, I'm not matching stroke for stroke. Like, I'm not going, see if we can see that on cam. We can sort of see that on cam. I'm not making like perfect slashes or anything like that. Like, it's not exactly 90 degrees. They're not evenly spaced or anything like that. And they're not even all that visible. The idea is that we build this color up slowly in many layers. But I don't ever get to do two passes of the same color. So as we slowly mix up the color, We slowly use it to build highlights in areas of extreme height. So like the areas where it is both facing towards the sun and it is highlighted are going to keep getting these slashes put across them. And I'm just going to keep putting slashes to build up the color. And that's going to give us the texture of this sort of threadbare-ish looking cloak. Cape. Adam, I don't think you were even on the thing when I started debating this. Is he wearing a hospital robe? So if we take a look at the back, it is split all the way up the back. It is split all the way across the front. It is held together by a flimsy belt in the middle. Is this not a hospital coat?
No, this would actually be, I mean, if you want to go with like their fluff description of it, it is a storm coat.
Disagree. He's wearing a hospital gown. He's wearing a hospital gown. Gonna go with hospital gown. All right, guys, we're gonna I'm gonna take a break here. I will be back in approximately 10 minutes. Adam, are you staying on the line just to chat, or you want to take a break as well?
I'll stay online. Like I've only been here for like 45 minutes. So.
All right. Well, the rest of you can sit here with Uncle Adam. Adam, you will be live while I'm gone, but it's up to you whether or not you want to talk to chat or not. I am going to go and urinate and touch my dogs.
That's fair.
All right. We'll see everybody in about 10 minutes.
Yeah. Yes, Sean. There is aliens too. I think there's definitely the warriors, the big black beetle tanker bugs that shoot the chemical fire from their heads. I saw brain bugs and weird slug things, and the weird flying warriors as well. Are you working on anything right now, Sean? What are you painting yellow? Yeah, I can't remember their actual name, but I did see minis of them. If anyone is familiar with the Starship Troopers CGI show, they actually have the Roughnecks squad from that show as one of the two squads you get in the starter deck. I think including the weird camera dude. What are you using for a base for your yellow? Hi. Oh, thank you. And a soda in my booby beer coaster. All right. Sean, answer my question. What are you using as a base color for your little yellow armband? Are you painting your hardcore minis orcs? Oh, it was brown first. Did you go straight to yellow after that, or did you like do a burnt orange between the brown and the yellow? I'm not working on anything right now because I worked until 6:30. I didn't have time to get anything ready. I am really happy with how my 3 Warhawks turned out, though. Yes, I am. I'm not sure what you're referring to. Are you saying the orange to... Yeah, okay. I figured it. Just took my brain a little bit. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I can't remember if we started doing that when we were painting yellow, when we were doing the... When we were painting your freebooters. I remember I had a lot of yellow on my guy. Or at least part of his armor was yellow. There was a lot of yellow and blue on those orcs. Yes. On Thursday, we can introduce him to Caleb. Cool. Yeah, I hear you. I'm just chatting with Sean and Amy. Yeah, I'm a little jealous of your hardcore minis orcs, but I might maybe treat myself to a Beast Snackins box when that actually does eventually release, even though they didn't give us any dates. I do really want that new orc war boss because I have a wicked weapon swap in mind. Cool.
Hey, I'm back. We're back. I guess Adam never left, but I left you guys temporarily. I assume that Adam has gotten us 1 million followers in my absence. Good job, Adam.
Hey, no problem. Yeah, I was just talking to Sean about what he was working on. He's currently painting an orc.
Yeah.
He's painting some of his hardcore minis orcs, and he's hating painting yellow. And I was asking if he was doing like a brown, what he used for a base, then if he's using like an orange as like a go-between from the brown base to the yellow, and he said yes. And then we were talking about other stuff. I want the one I want, Sean, is the, aside from like the Beast Snagas box, is the whatchamacallit, the new Mega Armor War Boss, because I have a fun conversion idea in mind, mainly for the weapon.
Yeah, I gotta say that the box weapon, or at least the weapon they've shown us so far, doesn't do anything for me. Not a huge fan of the Mech Choppa or Mega Choppa. I'm not sure which one that's gonna be, but
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, like it's if it was gonna be a weird chain axe, I'd prefer maybe a bigger, more brutal looking one. But actually, the from Age of Sigmar, the one Uruk box, like the kind of Uruk troops that took the place of like the Black Orc elite troops.
yep.
There's the one guy that has the really, really big curved sword that has the handle also halfway up the blade.
Yep.
I want to give the war boss that.
Totally fair. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'd like to see him what the Shuda option that they're gonna give him is.
Yeah, that is true.
Just not that I don't like, Choppas. Just I kind of want to see what they're gonna do with the Shuda for him. So
I mean, he technically does have a Shuda on that one.
yeah, it's just that his Git has it.
It's true.
Yeah, which again, not entirely opposed to.
I think like from what I understand with that, it does like it does shoot on his shooting phase. It doesn't have like its own turn or phase or anything like that. It's still considered his weapon.
Yeah, again, totally cool with that. I just, as I said, I'd really like to see if he's got an option for a Shuda and what that Shuda actually looks like. Because, yeah, I don't know. Power axes. I don't. Yeah, well, it's fine. I mean, I don't really have a good reason for how I'm feeling. I just want to see what the alternate weapon sculpt is, because again, I feel like the pose is really close to Gazgul's.
Well, because Gazkul has his arms.
No, I understand that it is different. It's just it seems too close to me.
Yeah, it is very similar to the old Gazkul.
Yeah, I just I don't know. I'm not gonna say that it's not a cool model. It is a cool model. It's just I don't know, something about it just doesn't hit quite right with me. And again, it is a objectively cool model. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm just saying that something about it just doesn't quite hit for me, and that's totally cool.
No,
there are people who look at Bellicor and are like, too many chains, and I was like, more chains. So
Bellicor is a really awesome mini, and those people are wrong. So
people are allowed to like what they like. I mean, they're allowed to be objectively wrong.
Yes. I mean, I really do like Bellicor. I'll probably never own Bellicor.
If you don't already, you never will.
Yep. Yeah. So I will never own him. Super sweet mini. I am still a fan of I do like that the Chaos Demon Prince still comes with options to make him either like Old Hammer or 40k.
Yeah, and that is my thought of what is going to happen with our beast snagas.
Yeah, I'm not sure it'll be that army box though in particular, just because the weird boy that comes with it is, well, I mean, aside from being one of the first named orc weird boys, he's like the weird boy where his powers are like encouraging and boosting rather than like I just accessed the raw untapped warp. How are you not infected by chaos? I'm a mushroom.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, as I said, there's lots of other possibilities for what it is. People are talking, because it's a destruction army. People are talking about Firmir coming back, which maybe, highly doubt it, but maybe. Because the reveal video is just a bunch of red eyes in a swamp, right? Like they don't give, and they say a new breed of destruction counts, or a new breed of evil. I think maybe they actually do say the word evil. I don't remember.
Is it just going to be like a bunch of drunk hillbilly swamp dwarfs? Because that would be hilarious. That would be an army of destruction I would buy.
Yeah, I could be. I mean, there's nothing saying it can't be.
I mean, now I'm just picturing like an orc in oil stains overalls with one strap undone, with a really old like John Deere trucker hat, drinking moonshine out of one like the old jugs,
Totally fair.
and telling me I have a pretty mouth while I walk into a swamp.
That sounds terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we'll see. I mean,
Yeah,
nobody
I
knows for sure. I don't know for certain.
I don't know enough about AOS really at all. I mean, I don't want to get into it just because, well, I do have a hard time reading fantasy, especially the last few years. Pretty much since I started playing D&D, I kind of stopped reading fantasy, aside from the occasional reread of Lord of the Rings. And a couple other gems. Kings of the Wild is a new one that I picked up that I actually really want to lend to Dan. It's a really neat premise about adventuring parties in a fantasy world.
Yeah, I hear you on reading fantasy. Bad fantasy is objectively worse than bad sci-fi.
My thing, like, I love bad sci-fi.
Yeah, that's again totally fair. I do not like most written sci-fi. Not to say that it's bad, but like I got burned by trying to read the 30K books, and that sort of turned me off for a little while here. And sci-fi is just gonna take a little bit of a. That's not true. I read a ton of sci-fi. If you haven't read it, go and read Zoid Punches the Future in the Dick. It is great. It is the second in a series, and I'm trying to remember what the first one. Oh, Futuristic Violence in Fancy Suits is the first one. Former cracked writer David Pargent is the author on those. He used to go by David Wong, which is John Dies at the End. That's also his book series.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So
I like John Dies at the End.
yeah, and that is all David, or sorry, Sean Pargent, not David Pargent. But he used to go under the pen name David Wong and is now retired the pen name. So, but yeah, it's fun. I just Zori Punches the Future in the Dick is a great follow up. Yeah,
I do really like a lot of the sci-fi books because I've been because I have Amazon Prime with Kindle Unlimited. I find a lot of really weird sci-fi gems that like they're not being published by a major publisher, so the author's just putting them on Kindle for like, if you have Kindle Unlimited, most of them are free.
you know what
But
book I haven't.
Yeah.
Totally fair. You know what book I haven't read that I really kind of want to? I don't know if you've ever run across Matt Colville. He's an author / game designer. I don't know how to put that better than that. I'm sorry, Matt, if you ever see this video.
The name.
He
is
does.
very familiar.
Yeah, he does D&D, like how to play the game, sort of DM stuff. And they did a live stream while they were still allowed to be in person. But he is one of the parts of MCDM. They did Strongholds of Followers, which is a really successful Kickstarter. There's some other stuff that they've done in the meantime. But long story short,
Matt Colville's got some actual fantasy novels out there that I would like to read someday and haven't read, and they are self-published through Amazon. You can buy physical copies of them through Amazon, but like,
Yeah, that's how like a lot of the there's one fantasy series I've actually been really enjoying because it's like the 13th Roman Legion, the Lost Roman Legion. That goes through a portal and goes through a whole nother world that has, you know, orcs and goblins and elves and fairies and whatnot and dwarves. And yeah, and then they basically found like a second Roman Empire on this other planet, and it's about the scion of a family who was on the wrong side of a civil war. Not just like the wrong side, but like the commanding general of the wrong side.
Huh.
But it's quite good. It's like there's three series in the universe. So there's the original like Lost Legion series, which is all about the Legion getting lost. I haven't actually read any of those ones yet. And then there's the one about the main character who's in the main character the next two series. And it's literally from like his first command to like where he kind of starts becoming the hero, and it's like, hey, otherworldly chaos thing that has no shape nor reason for what it does is going to destroy the planet unless we do some stuff. They're pretty enjoyable. I like a lot of the characters. The dwarfs are very sassy, and it's really fun to read. It also doesn't take itself too seriously, which I enjoy. I like it when books can like poke fun at themselves.
Totally fair. So just as an update of what I'm doing here on the model, you guys can see,
hopefully you can see.
just doing that cross hashing basically is what it's coming down to. And now I'm just coming down with our lightest highlight. So this is, this is White Sands. So we built up, we went Thar Brown and then Mojave White, and now we are into White Sands, which is going to be our lightest color on these. And really what I'm trying to do is just pick out where I think there would either be fraying on the model. So we'll come down and do a little bit more texture around the bottom as it gets sort of threadbare there along the bottom edge. And then just occasional little dots and highlights, either indicating some sort of damage to the cloak itself or the storm coat, hospital gown,
what have you. But you guys can see that is the texture essentially that I'm going for, right? So you can see from our sunny side angle, so our sun facing angle or our light facing angle, we're picking up the most that we can right along the hard creases in the fabric. And then I'll do a little bit of work to sort of sweep this back down so that it looks like it is transitioning into the coat and that there is a little bit of texture there. And then I am also going to come back with a combination of this is the midtone, which is Thar Brown, and a little bit of walnut just to add some damage and lowlights, essentially. We're just sort of controlling where exactly we can see these threads from. Now, we aren't keeping this exclusively to the front side. We are also going to go on our leeward side here, and more sparingly, and by leeward, I mean like shadow side, I guess. It's not really wind direction in this case, but on our shadow side, we are coming in and doing just individual little lines just to break up the blend that we had going on. And then we'll come back and do a little bit more shadow tone over top of that stuff. At any rate, that's where I'm at on the model in case we wanted an update on that sort of thing. That is the process we're on right now.
I think updates on what you're doing is fun.
That's fair. Yeah, I think that to your point with the with fantasy novels that I'm currently enjoying, I haven't actually read a good, you're talking here and I was like, I don't think I've actually read any good fantasy novels in a while. I guess I could. George R.R. Martin has once again said, lock me in a cabin until I'm done Winds of Winter. This is his annual pilgrimage to, I want to finish these goddamn books so you kids will stop asking me about them. Which, for anybody who's been fans of George Martin's work for basically his entire publishing career, he makes this threat once a year that he's going to go away and just finish writing it. And nobody should ever believe what he says, because he is not going to go away and finish writing them. It's just never going to happen.
He's going to stay on Twitter and say that he is.
Or, I don't care.
I mean, dude's got a life. Like,
dude can do whatever he wants. Like, he doesn't owe me anything. But, like, don't say that you're going to finish the books. Like, just don't. Just be like, actually, listen, I was really happy that the TV series is over now, so I don't have to deal with this world anymore. Pat dusts off hands, wanders into sunset. Totally an acceptable way for you to live your life, George Martin. No, you don't owe anybody shit.
Aside from his, like, weird World War II pulp stuff.
Oh, yeah, no, I love, what's it called? Flying Aces. Flying Aces is some of the greatest, I think it's Interwar Years fantasy. Now I'm forgetting when exactly it's set. But everybody gets random mutations, like a virus hits Earth, and everybody gets random mutations. And sometimes you're the Joker, and sometimes you're Aces, and when it comes up Aces, you're basically a superhero, but there's nothing saying that tomorrow the mutation won't come up Joker, and you will end up like a useless lump. It's great. And it's not just him. He wrote sort of the intro one, like he wrote the first novella in the series, and then turned it over to a bunch of other people to write in the space, like in the world. And it's great. I love it. It is.
I have the first book of it.
Yeah.
It's very enjoyable.
I love that premise.
The one fantasy book that's really grabbed me lately, I mentioned earlier, is Kings of the Wild. It was one of those books where I have the habit of, if the cover looks cool, I'm gonna buy it.
Fair enough.
Probably. I mean, that's not always the case. Like, I do read the synapse and stuff, and if the synapse sounds good, I usually plow through the first chapter real quick, and if I want to keep reading, I buy the book, and if I don't, it goes back on the shelf. But anyway, Kings of the Wild is one of the ones where I saw the cover, did not care. The cover was just cool, and I was like, no, I want that. And it turned out to be one of my favorite fantasy novels. I'm actually on my second read-through. And it's... I love the premise they take for the fantasy adventuring bands. They treat them like 80s hair metal bands.
Oh yeah, you talked to me about this one. It does sound fun.
Yeah. And then, like, the next generation of adventuring bands, because they call them bands.
Yeah.
Why would you not? Is more like 90s stadium rock, and, like, didn't, come up playing in, like, the dirty bars and stuff. So it's really good, and like, as I mentioned before, like, it is a book that does not take itself seriously. It doesn't try to be deep or, like, have any, super complex plot lines. It's a pretty hefty book. Like, it's 350, 400 pages. So it's got some length. Actually, it might be bigger than I quite remember, and I'm not close to it. But it's a fun read. It's super. I found it to be a quick read, but the quick read for me is usually in the 500 plus range.
Yeah, anything less than about 800 pages, final two Harry Potters is essentially like maybe a couple of days most of the time to get through. So
yeah, like, I'm still on, like, well, maybe less so now that I'm working like 12, 13 hours a day. Definitely cutting into my reading time, though, because I have Kindle and I have it on my phone to read on my phone. I'm actually reading a fun sci-fi novel called Strange Company. That's just about, like, just weird space mercenaries.
Neat.
They're like, hey, magic doesn't exist unless we give you technological magic, and no one knows how it works except for us, and then we'll just set you peace on the world, and somehow you all congregated together, you weird dudes. It's pretty fun. I'm really enjoying it. It's kind of taking over my main read right now.
Fair enough. My main read right now is the Alberta Electrical Code for low voltage wiring. Because I'm doing some upgrades to the office. You know what?
Riveting.
It is. I am trying to find out. Over the past several days, I've been trying to figure out whether or not it makes sense to run low voltage wiring. That is for both lighting and control purposes. Because then I can add extra controls into the room without having to go through the ceiling. At any rate, you know what time it is?
It is time for Hits on 2 Plus.
Oh, why isn't it showing yours first? Okay, well, that is backwards, but we will turn yours on so that it shows yours first. Or it doesn't show yours at all. Hang on one second. It's
got his headline thing.
Yeah, it does have. That is super strange. Give me 1 second. I will reattach things because obviously I broke it. There we go. There it is. What do we got, Adam?
This is actually from Larsonic Miniatures. The guy's name is Lars. I was talking to him the other day, very briefly, just kind of like, hey, we're gonna feature your mini on the stream. You're in Germany, so it'll probably be asleep. But yeah, he said he just asked me to send him the channel and he'd watch it when he was done work.
Hey Lars, how's it going, man? Thanks for letting us use you on our Hits on 2 Plus segment. That's super cool.
I absolutely love this miniature, this bounty hunter miniature. Like, he has some amazing stuff on here. Like, his painting is good. Like, he does a lot of Zona Alpha, and as you know, I am a fan of Zona Alpha. I will talk about it next week when I because there's minis coming out for it.
Yeah, there
are. But yeah, I love just everything about this mini. I love the pose. I like his progress pictures where you can see the 3 different poses he went through before he settled on this final one.
Yeah, just hopping through them quickly. Yeah, you can definitely see the decisions that were made. I don't know whose hand that is, but I love that hand.
Yeah, that hand's awesome. I do love how, I mean, I know 2 of the guns used for the gun, and I'm not sure where the barrel and the attachments came from. But that's definitely a laser gun and the middle part of a bolter.
Yeah, that's the aspect sight off of bolter, but it's got a different casing on it. Like the mag is different, and it is a chop down scope. I know which scope that is.
Yeah, the barrel I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not entirely certain on that one either. That is maybe it's
honestly,
from the Reapers, like from the. But either way, super cool conversion. Definitely, like Lars has got some incredible stuff. So if you get a chance, definitely go and hit him up. The rules for Hits on 2 Plus, we should briefly mention that chat or down in the comments if you guys want to vote for who you guys think's Hits on 2 Plus. Put your votes down in the bottom. It's been a little while since we've had a comment about one of them, but I have to say, I think this one should win purely because of our little squig friend, dude, Munchkin, Gremlin down underneath the platform. Every time I remember that he's there in the rotating shot, I'm like, yeah, that's fun.
Oh my god. Oh, you know what it is? It's a Nurgling. It is a nurgling.
It super is. Yeah, it super is.
Yeah.
But yeah, the detail all across the model, the paint job, it looks wonderful. I do love how lived in it looks. I love that it is harmonious in color, but not dull. Just making just the best use of contrast. I do love the tattoos across the forehead, and just how well executed the face in general is. It's not often that you get guys with properly painted eyebrows, and this one works. Every time I painted eyebrows on dudes, it makes them look like they are vampires. So, kudos.
It's true. I really like the subtle glow from the his implant on his face. It's like, oh hey, what do you have on? What did you install on your head? Laser sights.
Lasers. Everything is lasers.
I put laser beams on my freaking head.
Hey, is that a Tempest Scion backpack, or is that a Gene Stealer cult backpack?
That is some backpack. That is a Gene Stealer backpack. That's not a Scion.
Neat. I might be wrong that it's a Gene Stealer backpack, but it looks really close to one of my Acolyte backpacks, so.
I'm pretty sure there is a lot of Gene Stealer in this. Like, the legs are. Oh, well, I think there's a lot of.
Yeah, I think that the lower body is a Gene Stealer. That's why I was wondering whether or not the backpack was too. Because I have definitely painted that Acolyte.
Yeah, the upper torso looks like it's from one of the Arborite guys.
Yep.
Yeah, I love everything about this mini and the process and the final mini.
Yeah, so go ahead, hit up Larsonic and give him a follow. I will give him a follow right now too, just to prove to you guys that I do give follows to people when we are featuring them. Super nifty. I'm gonna pull mine up because this is me. This is who I am. Yeah, apparently it's also not going to bring up my lower third, so that's fun. But so this is an engine rigger. This is one of the commanders for the Herodon overlords. I'm probably saying that wrong. Caharadon. Listen, you guys can tell me in the comments how I'm actually supposed to pronounce that name. I messaged LS. I didn't get a message back yet. Unfortunately, I chose my hits on 2+ this morning, so I unfortunately didn't hear back from him, and I'm pretty sure he's a Spanish or Portuguese painter, and I don't know which one of those it is. But yeah, he's got a whole bunch of. So this is painted up in the Tempesti. So this is the Cities of Sigmar, Tempesti. Tempesti? I believe it's Tempesti. So this is one of the Cities of Sigmar. There's a bunch of dudes that are painted up in this series. I went with the Endrin Rigger, Endrin Master. Sorry, not Endrin Rigger, Endrin Master, because I thought it was the coolest out of all of them because I just love our lead balloon friends. But it was a close toss-up between that and the Celestial Hurricanum, which, look at that wizard. Look at him. Look at that Hurricanum. Look at it. Just either or.
That is not a wizard. That is Ming the Mirthless from Flash Gordon.
You're probably not wrong. You're probably not wrong.
Technically, that'd make him a sorcerer.
Listen, everybody uses the term sorcerer, wizard, and warlock in a weird interchangeable manner, and they are not interchangeable. But like, I'll give it to you.
Definitely not. They are all different things.
But yeah, I just love the paint job. I love blue metallics that are done well, and out of all of the Alpha Legion that I've seen that has the weird, not well done color shifting aqua, I appreciate so much that Alessio, I'm going to go with Alessio. Alessio managed to do a really good job of metallic silver with a blue transparent over top of it. It looks great. That was what really brought me to these models. There's other parts of it that are great, the glowing eyes, just the overall cleanliness of the composition. But yeah, when it came right down to it, it's that I love that blue metallic.
For sure, I am a sucker for blue metallic. It makes me a little hesitant now because my custom chapter, the Warhawks, were going to be metallic cobalt blue.
Yeah, it's not. As I said, I've seen a lot of Alpha Legion because Alpha Legion is they're my boys. I love them Hydras. I love all of us are Alpharius. But yeah, it's just one of those things that V votes this one. I assume that it's vote this one that we're talking about now, V. But yeah, no, I think it's a cool model. It's not great. I've seen a lot of not great jobs on the blue, so I wanted to say kudos.
That's fair. It was very, very nicely done.
Yeah. Now I'm going to turn that off and see if that message was from him on Instagram. Oh, no. Thanks, V. Thanks for the mention, yo. So yeah, you guys can see that's sort of where we're at with the great cloak. So this is going to go around most of the model. I'm going to continue to layer it up and layer it back down. So we're continuously reestablishing both our shadows and our highlights. I know, out of context, I know that it looks a little weird that it's got blue shadows on it. Like, I get that, but you gotta remember, this guy is going to be standing on our friend, Mr. Display Base here, and those shadows, if I can get this all on here at the same time, that shadow is, I don't feel good, but that shadow is sort of matching what we've got for shadow color in the actual base itself. So it'll make more sense in context. I know that if you were putting this devoid of context, it's a little weird to pull out blue as a shadow color on cream or tan. So yeah. As a contrast, I'm going to spend like 5 seconds and we're going to highlight one part of our face here just so that I can show the difference of when we are a less textured surface. So we're gonna do the helmet. I'm just gonna do a little bit here. So we will choose probably around his that would be his left eye. I'm just gonna do a little bit of highlighting on there, and we can show you the difference with a smooth flat surface versus what we did on our cloth. So you guys can see I got the eyes done a little bit earlier today. Well, yesterday, technically, yesterday evening. But what I'm going to do here is, for reinforcing the bottom of that eye and cleaning it up a little bit, I should probably be wearing my cheaters right now, but I will get my face and head real close. So again, I'm using that blue. I'm going to start reinforcing shadow colors across the side of the face. And because this guy is also going to be in deep shadow on this side, we're just going to start putting in shadows. Now, with smooth colors, with smooth metal features, I guess I should say, we can be a little bit, we have to be a little bit careful of something called bounce lighting. So because this guy is smooth and we want to give the impression of something that's shiny, let's see if I don't have something around that I can demonstrate with, but we are going to get not only color that comes from the light source, which is on that right hand, or on his right hand side. Sorry, I left and right is one of those things that I actually like have to position my body to get correct. Because of that strong light source, there isn't a whole lot of bounce that we're going to come off here, but we are still going to get bounce lights that come off of things like the shiny metallic band across his face. This cross is eventually going to be gold, so it'll be scattering light in a slightly different way. I don't know if I'm going to get to all that detail tonight, but I'm going to at least spend the next, half hour starting to prep for it. So part of that prep process is getting our shadows in place and then working towards light. But yeah. So again, just in with our color mix, this is anthracite. Anthracite blue is what it's called, and then we are also using that in combination with petroleum gray, or anthracite gray. Sorry, not anthracite blue. Anthracite gray and petroleum gray are our colors on this guy. We're just using those to create our deep shadows here. So, yeah. Sorry, I'll try and center that a little bit better. Sean, do you have a choice in our hits on 2+, buddy, or?
Which one are you picking, Sean?
We got V's vote.
I assume that Sean is currently in the process of doing something epic. We can't be privy to it. We're
I
interrupting
mean,
his...
he was painting earlier, so he could.
Oh
be...
yeah, no, I assume that he is in the middle of trying to paint an eyeball, and us interrupting him, forcing him to interact with us on screen is causing an extreme interruption. It's really what I'm hoping for. All right. So we've once again established our shadow color. We're going to come in here and create a mid-tone. So this is just Thar Brown, which was our base tone, and a little bit of our shadow color. I'm going to mix those together. I'm going to put way too much water on my brush. I'm going to go back and forth. And we're going to start reestablishing some of the contours of his face. Because even though this is a helmet, we want it to be contoured. Contouring faces, regardless of the... On hard, shiny objects, we get to be much more... we don't have to be as careful with our very slow, gradual blends. Yes, we are still wanting to blend them, but in order to get the impression of hard things, there can be quite stark transitions. So I hope that we are at least semi in focus right now, and it's not just trying to grab my thumb. You guys can see what I'm trying to put down there. I'm actually probably just going to finish up right around the eye first, and then I'll go through and do the rest of the head, because I only have 24-ish minutes left, so... In order... Oh. And the, like, weird, almost James Bond music that we've got in the background is adding to the tension of the situation. Can Steve paint an entire area surrounding an eyeball in only 24 minutes? I saw a tweet today that I really liked. It was, Tom Cruise has done 6 of these already. At some point in time, people have got to realize that these missions aren't impossible.
Oh yeah, I forgot there's a new one came out in like the last year or two.
There's another one coming out, actually, so...
Really? Oh, thanks, Sean. Sean voted for mine.
See, now we're gonna have to take it out into the wide world and get more people to vote for one or the other, just so that one of us can claim to be a winner. So, moving up rapidly and in very small areas of highlights. So you can see I'm trying to get very sharp, small areas of very bright transition. This gives the impression of harder surfaces. When we do that nice gradual gradient between colors, like what we were doing on the back of the cloak, that is going to give us the impression of soft or organic surfaces. You can also be very loosey-goosey. I don't want to say like messy with your transitions on organic surfaces, but you can be, quite frankly, messier with your transitions on those sorts of surfaces. When we are doing that sort of transition work on hard surfaces, it is very precise. It is very angular. It is very exact in order to capture the idea of a hardened surface. And that is why things like when you see the heavy metal paint jobs, specifically like on Space Marines and stuff, you can see how precise and small all those lines are, and keeping those really tiny edge highlights so uniform is really what gives you the impression of, oh, that is hard Space Marine armor, even though they are, you know, like baby blue in the case of Space Wolves, right?
Yeah, I don't like the 40k Space Wolves color. It's stupid.
Agreed, but the idea is that we are using very small points of light to give the impression of very hard edges. Continue to work with some of the shadow transitions and stuff like that, so that we are looking like we still live on a Space Marine, but that is essentially what we're doing here. So we are working back and forth to have that shadow tone, but we still want those very precise, hard edges around his eye. I'm actually going to come in here, line his eye one more time, because I feel like I am losing definition around lens. And I don't know if this is too small for capture, but I will post some pictures of this on IG later just to show everybody what I'm talking about and how we get those really hard, tiny
reflective surfaces. So we can see now that I'll go through and clean out the rest of the cheek and make sure that the shadow color is even. We can see now just one side versus the other, where how it looks harder on one side, like the material itself reads as hard, especially when we look at it in comparison to our great cloak there. We'll continue to work through this, but yeah, higher highlights, smaller, much more precise lines, and that'll sort of keep things going.
Earlier when I mentioned the Jovian Chronicles, you sounded like you were familiar with that particular obscure sci-fi RPG.
Yeah, it was one of the ones that it came down to that. I was looking for a sci-fi RPG, so it came down to between that and now I'm forgetting it. Mindjammer from Modiphius, and I ended up going with Mindjammer. So, not that I would never play in like a Jovian one, but the Shadows over Soul. It's just that I didn't have the resources at that time to buy 2 different core books. So, and I watched it through its first Kickstarter, and then I've also looked it up on Drive-Thru RPG. That was how I was going to acquire it.
Oh, I was actually talking. There's one I mentioned earlier that made me feel. That Jovian Whispers made me feel nostalgic for.
I think it's because I'm thinking of a different series of sci-fi books. But there is a series of sci-fi books that are Mark Millar, I want to say. They're comic books. Sorry, I should be clear. Comic books that I'm thinking of that are Mark Millar comic books.
The RPG I'm talking about, like it's made by the same guys who made Heavy Gear. If anyone is familiar with Heavy Gear.
Is that the car combat one?
No, the car combat one, I don't remember. Sean converted some like hard boys to dead. I can't remember what it's called. I can't remember the car combat one now.
Sorry, derailing, dirt roading you there.
Heavy Gear is the like human colony lost contact with Earth because there was a war on Earth, and they decided, hey, we're gonna blow everything up. And then they developed essentially like small, not small, but like walking robots that have tank treads on their feet.
Okay.
Heavy Gear's pretty fun. There's there's a bunch of games for Heavy Gear, or I think there used to be. I don't know if there's any. Oh, you probably wouldn't be able to find them on anything.
GOG. If they're going to be anywhere, they're going to be on GOG.
I was going to say you're probably going to need to download them and download an emulator program because they are like PlayStation 1.
Maybe.
Gaslands.
Gaslands. Yeah, thank you, Sean. Also, I love the people who do Gaslands conversions. If I could find somebody who did a consistent job of them, I would totally commission some because they look so cool.
Yeah. The Jovian Chronicles, just to get back onto what I guess what I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
Um, the company is called DreamPod 9. They also do a oh, pardon me.
Completely unacceptable. You are not pardoned.
Oh, I'm smoking weed though.
Completely unacceptable. Yeah, well,
Completely legal.
completely legal because we live in Kanekistan, the greatest country on the planet. An okay country, especially compared to what we have to deal with to the south.
Yep. We look pretty bad until you look so.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, you're not so bad.
Hey, look. Our morons are at least able to consider the Proud Boys a terrorist group.
Yep. And they're like, yeah, that's pretty terroristy. But anyway, I'm not sure if they have the game anymore, but there's one they had called Gear Free, which was basically weird World War II.
Ooh.
I'm not sure if they produce that one anymore. They didn't have a lot of like when I first was reading about the stuff like way back when in like 2003. They didn't have a lot on Gear Creed. Their main focuses were pretty much Heavy Gear and the Jovian Chronicles. But the Jovian Chronicles has since developed into also a tabletop war game. And it uses the RPG and the tabletop war game use the same system for combat.
Neat.
Yeah, so it's interchangeable. So you can, get the RPG books, and then if you want like actual minis, you can buy the minis for the war game, and they're all highly customizable. What they use in Jovian Chronicles is a lot of exo armors and exo frames.
Okay.
So basically robots.
Neat.
But like it's also a hard science universe as well, so it's all like there's actual real world physics clearly defined and everything, so like there's no warp speed or anything like that. It's just humans being humans, which is essentially making war on each other because that's what we do. I guess it sucks. But yeah,
We could
it's
not do that, and it'd probably be pretty cool though.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I really want to get my hands on the RPG books. It's a world I've had an interest in for just about 20 years. So
Fair enough. So, giving a little update. You guys can see where we're going with this. Obviously, I've got some cleanup to do down here on the bottom. I get a little bit of cleanup to do here on the cheek, but you guys can essentially see where we're going with this.
And by cleanup, I mean I'm definitely just going back and forth. So this is back into our Thar brown, then I'll come back in with a shadow color, and then I'll come back with the highlight. Just cleaning up over and over again, making sure we have lots of hard, straight lines, because I want to show off that this is metal in comparison to clothy fruit.
oh man, I just found a new segment for a part of the new segment for next week.
Woo! Next week news.
Yeah, it's Lego.
I do like Lego. Is it officially sanctioned Lego?
It is. It's on the Lego website.
Can I take a guess as to what it is?
Yes.
Is it the space shuttle?
Yes.
It's pretty great.
Right.
So, as a big fan of both Lego and space, that Lego space shuttle. So the first set that I remember asking for and getting was a Lego space shuttle, and that one is so much cooler, and it comes with a Hubble Space Telescope. So
Yeah, and like an official little NASA card.
yeah, it comes with all sorts of stuff. Actually, they've been doing really good at licensing from NASA. Just there's an ISS model. There is an Apollo 11 lander, I believe. I believe it is Apollo 11. It could be one of the later Apollo missions. I know that
Also,
it
a
is.
Saturn V rocket.
Yeah, the Saturn V rocket is cool.
It's like 3 feet tall.
Yeah, my brother's got one because my brother is an engineer and a space enthusiast. We'll put it that way.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, the set I really want, they don't make anymore because it's the old. It's from the old defunct Technic line of Lego.
They still make Technic.
Do they?
Yep.
Oh, I should look. I'm on their site. I might as well. There was an Oceanic Explorer.
I mean, it's like all Lego where stuff comes in and out, right? Like,
yeah. I mean, the set's from like the 90s too, so I don't think they would still make it, or even people at Lego would be like, "What? We never did that."
you think that? I can still get you guys. You can still. So if you write to Lego, they will still send you. They will still send you parts and instructions for everything they've ever produced. There is nobody who loves Lego more than the people who work for Lego.
Oh, never mind. I thought I found it. It was not the one. It's just the new Lego one. Though that one's actually also kind of sweet. Yeah, the Technic one. It was ocean exploration vessel. It was huge.
Yeah.
It also like dropped a 2-scale mini sub off the back.
Nice.
And they modeled the mini sub after Alvin, the mini sub that helped find the Titanic.
Yeah, it did. Is it weird that I remember Alvin's name because I think of him as the Chipmunk submarine?
No, that's how I remember it.
Yeah. See, and this is why we're friends.
Right. Like, I'm like, oh, it's like, what was the name of the submarine that found this? Like, I also found the Bismarck.
Was it on the Bismarck mission? I know that
Alvin was also part of the exploratory crew that what's his name? James Cameron used to go and find or to shoot parts of Titanic, which
Titanic the movie is an okay movie. And you can all at me later. I'm at Steve Thomas on Twitter, or sorry, at Choice Minis on Twitter. Also at Choice Minis on social media of your choice. So if you want to find me and tell me just how wrong I am about Titanic being an okay movie, I'll fight you, because I will fight you.
You know, I will fight them too, Steve, because I enjoy Titanic. It's a really, really well-made movie.
It is an exceptionally well-made movie. You can be
laugh.
There's a certain amount of irony I think that comes along with hating things that are popular, but good God, that movie, it does so many things right that like the parts of it that are bad are still forgivable in the context of that movie.
This is true. But yeah, I believe Alvin was involved with going down to the wreck of the Bismarck.
Neat.
That was before the Titanic, or it was before.
The Titanic, they knew the approximate resting place of the Titanic. The Bismarck, they had a sinking location, but because of where it sank, if I'm remembering this all correctly, there was more of a possibility for it to drift. They were close, like within a couple of miles with the Titanic, because of they didn't know exactly what had happened on sinking because it bow planed, so it like moved forward and it was going faster than they thought it was, so they would sort of lost it, but like they had a really good idea of what part of the North Atlantic it was in. So
yeah, like the Titanic left like, you know, a treasure trail of debris on its way down that kind of was like, hey, go this way. Whereas
yeah,
the Bismarck was like, all of my bits are close by, like within like spitting distance of the main hull.
Well, and part of the issue with the Titanic was that, or sorry, not with the Titanic, with the Bismarck, or finding the wreck of the Bismarck, was that Bismarck was also being hunted for several days.
Yes.
And it was in a day where it was being hunted, and the Germans weren't exactly giving away where they had lost their capital ship.
Yeah,
Like they
it
weren't
was
exactly
literally-
telling the Allies, "Hey, here's where to salvage for our capital ship, the pride of
Yep.
our navy."
Yep. That literally, it almost got away, and then a break in the clouds. We're like, the Allies were like, "Hey, there it is, down in those, down on the water through that hole in the clouds that just miraculously appeared."
Yeah. When
Let's
was the
send
sinking of the Bismarck?
I believe that was 41. It was early.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether or not it was post Enigma, and now we have to take everything post. Once they cracked the Enigma code the second time, the U571 recovered Enigma machine. You have to take everything in reported World War II history with a grain of salt. There was a miraculous break in the clouds is the official story. What's really the story is we were listening into their communiques every day and already knew exactly where they were.
Yeah.
Because once we broke Enigma, we lied a whole bunch so that Germany didn't find out that we had broken Enigma. I shouldn't say just Germany, the Axis. We lied a whole bunch to the Axis and to most of our allies. Because we definitely lied to the Russians about breaking Enigma as well.
Oh man, I'm gonna edit my very first Wikipedia page because it's wrong.
Nice.
It's about the Bismarck.
Ooh.
I mean, unfortunately, it's about the casualties and losses. They got it real wrong. Real wrong.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, they did not take into account the Bismarck sinking the HMS Hood, the flagship of the Royal Navy.
Yeah, I was going to
Single
say,
salvo.
the reason why everybody was hunting the Bismarck?
Yeah, it's like, oh, it's just, it's just two battleships slugging out. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Oh, the Bismarck fired once. What happened to the Hood? It's gone.
It literally sank immediately. Like, not immediately, but it was disabled nearly immediately.
35 crew, 3,500 crew on the Hood. 3 survived.
Was that also where we got Oscar the Unsinkable Cat? Was off the Hood?
I actually don't know if he was on the Hood.
I know that he was served
exactly
on
which cat
a
you're talking
U-boat
about.
that the Hood sank. Then he switched sides because he was a traitorous cat, because all cats are traitors.
This is true.
Yeah. Anyway, that's a fun anecdote from the internet about Oscar the Unsinkable Cat, who kept serving on Navy vessels for both sides of the Second World War, and was sunk 3 times, but didn't manage to pass away because cat.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at the chase map for the Bismarck.
So the Bismarck left berth in Norway and was trying to break the blockade, correct?
Yeah, and it actually. Dude, the weird thing is, because they separated the Bismarck and its escort cruiser, which was actually just a pocket battleship, the Prince Eugen.
Yep.
The Prince Eugen kept steaming on their original course and made it through the blockade, and the Bismarck was heading back into was going to Brest to the naval yards.
Yeah.
I can't remember why. I think they took down.
So the Bismarck had already been fired upon, and then they lost it in pursuit because giant ship was also speedy.
Yeah, it was super quick.
Yeah. But it was one of those things that it had been fired upon, and I believe it had taken direct main gun damage from a smaller ship. And I'm sorry, I'm not as familiar with the Navy, but it had already taken direct fire at one point in time, and so it was headed back for minor retrofit because they couldn't keep it in Norway.
Oh, it's you know what it was? It's radar.
Oh, there you go.
They crushed its. They destroyed its like radar and range finding equipment. So its gun, they had like no, nothing beyond like giant binoculars essentially, because like their rangefinders can see beyond the horizon because of how high up they are.
Yeah.
Which is also where the radar is mounted. And I'm pretty sure it was it might have been the Prince of Wales that did it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then yeah, I can't remember. And then it was on like World War.
No, and then it
early
was the hood that was in pursuit after that.
No,
And
no,
that
the hood was for the hood got sunk before it got hit by the Prince of Wales. The Prince of Wales was close to the hood, or was with the hood.
Yeah, I think they were running the mission together to take it out because they had finally gotten intelligence that it was being held in Norway, and that was when they were trying to blockade it.
Yeah, and they
meanwhile they were just trying to get it back to actual German waters as opposed to Allied waters so that they could do radar refit.
Yep.
Adam, brother,
Yeah.
I love you so much, and I could talk about World War II history for probably too long.
Yes, me too.
But I want to thank everybody else for being with us tonight and say I love you guys too. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. And if you're watching this in the future, thank you for watching all the way through. If you liked what you saw, if you have any comments or anything, write them down in the comments below. You can always put them in chat. You can also send them straight to me. I'm at Choice Minis on most of social medias. You can also send any feedback, or if you just want to chat, or if you want to, put your artwork up for Hits on 2+, you can always send it over to choiceminis@gmail.com. I want to thank both of our participants in this week's Hits on 2+, Aliciano and Lars. Thank you guys so much. If you guys could head over there and give them a like. If you want to support us, we would love it. The best way you can do it is just by sharing what you saw. Just share it to your other nerdy friends and let them see all the cool stuff that we do over here. If you feel like it, you can always go to our website, choiceminis.com, and buy merch. You can also support us by giving us a tip. We would love that too, but, at this point in time, Adam, buddy, I love you.
Love you too, buddy.
We will see the rest of you guys on Thursday. We will be back with the Orkland Raiders. We will be working on green skins this week in honor of the Beast Class Naga, or the Beast Nagas. So we'll be back on Thursday, May the 13th at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Pacific, 6 o'clock p.m. right here in Calgary, Alberta. We'll see you guys later. Do something about white supremacy. ACAB, I love you guys.
Bye, everybody.